Test, test. Test. Good. Okay, we will call the Public Properties Committee to order. I understand that Dan Allen is out of the state, so he won't be joining us tonight. As you look over the agenda, are there any additions or corrections to the agenda?
I have one addition, and it would be to add North Harmon Drive on the agenda at the end.
All of North Harmon Drive?
Yeah,
Okay. Anything else as far as additions or deletions? If not, I will take a motion to approve the agenda with the addition.
So moved.
Moved by Charts. I need a second. Second by Desher. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carried. We will go on to the light pole requests. We've got a number of them on the agenda. What I'd like to do is take Terry's input and any public testimony there might be on all of these, and then at the end, we can discuss them all together and make one motion for them all, or one motion for the ones we like and leave out the ones we don't like, and that way we'll be a little more efficient. So, Terry, take it away. Quiet Lane from Tiger to Manny.
All right, first we'll start on Quiet Lane. Randy actually called me on this one and asked that we take a look at this. Quiet Lane is about, I think about 900 feet. We'll measure it here real quick. It's about 700 feet. So the red symbol is where I'm proposing we put in a new power pole, so it'd be split in the block. Typically, we put them in at every 300 feet or at every street intersection or a bend in the road. So this is where I would propose putting one in. Then we'll go to the next.
Before you zoom out, there's a lot of empty space there. Are we expecting future development? Otherwise, it looks like a private security pole for that one home.
Actually, let's see. This is an old aerial. So there are houses up along this side almost all the way to the other end.
Okay.
And I think it's still open over here and over on this side.
But open for development. I mean, the
Yeah,
lots could be sold.
open the lots, yeah.
I got a call and I went out there, and it was not necessarily during the summer, but during the winters, people walk in that area, and it's dark.
Mhm.
I'm gonna walk at about 5, 6 o'clock. They asked me if I could see if it was.
Yeah, I just want to, because some people may be watching, I just want to make it clear that there are other houses out there and it's not a sweetheart deal for someone.
All right, we'll go to Thompson Place next. Okay, here's Thompson Place, which is right along here. I'm proposing we put in 4 lights. One at the beginning, right at Norway, and then light here, here, and one at the end. There are no lights along here, and it's pretty much kind of like you see. There might be some houses in here, but it's all platted for houses.
And are you just going out and kind of seeing where dark spots are, or are you responding to public?
Most of these requests are all at the request of Dick Figlin. Thought we should kind of take a look at which areas do not have any lights on, and basically just going around and seeing what streets that are, developed, and taking a look at where we could use some lights. So,
Is there a reason why we do it this way as opposed to when there's a new development, just putting them in as we go?
I think it's more of a developer specific on that. We typically usually have waited until we do get a request. But we felt that it might be good just to go through some of these areas and just get them done. And maybe we should create a policy that whenever a new development comes in, then we put them in at the time of the development. I know Wild Oak development, a lot of those light poles are in for the whole entire development, and they're special poles, because what we do is we don't pay for the pole or the light fixture. All we pay for is the usage. And now, if someone like Wild Oak, if they want a specialized pole, then they pay for the difference of price from a wood pole to a metal pole.
And you say this every meeting, and I forget every meeting. What does it cost just per light to run it?
It is about $650 a light per month.
That's gone up, hasn't it?
A little bit, yeah. I think they were $550. But it's all set by the PUC, and it changes depending on what size fixture you put up.
I'd like us to look at a policy that maybe it's based on, I mean, you don't want to be lighting cows, but once there's a certain threshold of houses, you know, then we start putting lights in or something.
Mm-hmm.
So it's more, you know, automatic, and people don't have to stumble around and then complain and finally realize, well, I can get a light if I have.
Yeah, I actually like that idea better, because if we know where houses are in, and sometimes a developer will sell like a lot and a half, well, what happens if we put the pole in the middle of a half lot that they sold? Well, then we got to move that pole, like what happened down by Ethan Lumber on that Windsor Court.
Mhm.
So that was basically that issue where a person wanted to build a huge house, and they ended up they ended up buying a lot and a half, and then the pole, the line where the pole went through the lot line. Well, the lot line is where the house went. So the line got cut, and then we had to refeed it, and it took us about, a year and a half to refeed it to get it all, so we were working. So.
I'm not on the committee, but I've got a comment, and kind of based off Mel's of policy to look at as the developments go in, but I would also like to see us look at the entire city, and if we had streetlights at every 300 feet, and every street that we had, what would that cost us per year versus what's it costing us right now? I don't want to light the city and have us go bankrupt and I don't think that will happen, but there's not an infinite amount of money to light the streets. And if electric rates double, what is that going to do to what that cost is, and then where's that money going to come from?
Well, and some of these areas are actually the thing you're talking about, is some of the areas are some long stretches that have never been lit, and we wanted to bring it to your attention to see if these are areas that we want to light. So these are some of those areas that we'll be talking about that have been established areas for a while, but we want to just see where we want to go with it. Just because someone doesn't ask for a light, does that mean we shouldn't bring it up? Or should we wait until we get a request?
We've always done it by request, and it seems to work.
Yeah.
But I think Steve has a valid point.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, it would take a little time to do that, Terry.
Yeah.
Do this filler work, but it'd be good to know that number.
The next one I want to go to, just because I'm moving north to south, I want to talk a little bit about Ullman from 8th all the way to 23rd Avenue. And I want to talk a little bit about 23rd Avenue all at the same time. Now, this map here shows, this is Ullman between 8th and 23rd. We have a light down here on the corner, and then we have a light that was requested because of storage units, but then we really don't have any lights along Ullman until we get up to Twin City Fan, and these are private floodlights that are mounted to an existing pole or Twin City Fan to kind of light up their parking lot. So this is an area that I think it's been brought up before when we talked about Ullman, just that it's a main corridor coming into town, and there's a lot of traffic that use it, but it's pretty dark at night.
It is
So-
very dark at night. I drive that all the time, and I think that every time I'm driving it. So.
How often do these maps get updated? Because there's a lot of development in there now that's not reflected.
This aerial is probably, it's a couple years old, probably 2 to 3 years old.
Do we get pedestrian traffic along that route?
Bikers, runners.
And no shoulder.
And there are a lot of wildlife going across there that would.
The deer run from the dog park area over to feed on the corn.
How many lights are you talking about there, Terry?
Well, if we went every 300 feet, it'd be 1, 2, 11.
11 lights.
Yeah. But we could go, if we wanted to do something, we could at least go, say, every 600 feet, 500 feet. to at least get something out there. Or maybe we don't do anything.
What's the effective illumination range of
Usually if we go every 300 feet, that's where we're seeing 150 on each side. Let's move over to 23rd Avenue. From Oman all the way over to Minnesota, it's pretty much a light just about every 300 to 400 feet. Once you get to Wisconsin, there are no lights between there and Main Street. So here we would be adding about 5 lights if we wanted to continue lighting up that area. When you're on the highway and you look this way, there's a space in here, there are no lights. Then you keep looking down the street, then you can see where the rest of it's lit up. And some of it is due to where street intersections are, where others, they've added a light in between every other power pole just to get another light in there.
And coincidentally, it happens that is also the section where there's not a bike path or walking path. And so you do have a lot of walkers, once again, walking on the shoulder of the road.
All right. I will move to the north end of the lake. Okay, this is Joe Jean Court. Joe Jean Court hasn't, I think it's pretty much like this right now, where there might be a house right here, but this is pretty much open right now. So we would propose a light here on the corner of Fiala Road, one about in the middle in line with this property line, and one here where it lines up with another property line. This owner wants to do the metal poles, so I need to get him a price difference and style for the metal poles, but he will be paying for the price difference.
You know, we have a water and sewer fee. Have we ever thought about a light fee? I mean, just tonight, I mean, how many lights are we talking about?
We're talking, talking about North Harmon, we're talking a bunch of lights.
I mean, if we were to do everything on the list here tonight, are we talking about 50? Are we talking about 100 lights?
It's probably closer to that 50 range. But I wanted to bring it up just so we're
No, I'm not faulting you, but I take Steve's point. And, you know, that might be something to look at if we charge people $1 a month, let's say, for lighting. I don't know if that's the right number, but it's a nice round number. Because at some point, you're not going to have money for other things. Okay.
Next one would be at Woods Circle. There's 2 houses here. I would just put one here on the corner. And then a light up here at National Guard Road and Fiala Road. Then as we move down, I would propose put a light at this intersection. Let me go back. I missed this one actually. I would propose put a light at National Guard Road and North Harmon at this intersection. There's an existing pole there. We'd just add a light. I would add a light to this existing pole. This one we could probably do without just because it's out near the boonies, but soccer, when we have night games or when it gets close to the night, this might be kind of handy. And it's also a truck route to Twin City Fan. The big area that I want to talk to you about is North Harmon. This would be a proposal. If we wanted to do lights, and I didn't go all the way just because I thought, wow, that's just going to be a lot of lights, and I wanted to talk to you guys about it. But there's a long stretch through here where we don't have any lights. The only one we do have is here at North Harmon and Livesay. and one that's all we have right now. So I would propose at least put one on Anthony and Livesay, 407th and Anthony, and one down here on the corner where we have a street intersection. But I wanted to talk about if you thought we should maybe look at trying to put some lights along that road. I have talked to a couple of people in the area, and they said it is dark out there, and a lot of cases where we run into a lot of deer. Kind of like what Susan was talking a little bit with with Omen. But on the other side, you look at the costs. You look at how you're going to pay for the additional lights.
You have something against young love?
No. Dick and I wanted to just bring it up to you guys with these long stretches and see if you want to do something, we would take a look at it, or if we just do it at the corners like we've been doing in town.
How many of you got proposed there that you feel like are, do you have any that you would say are essential, and then some that are?
Well, I would almost say we light up going around this curve, and then maybe put one in the middle, light up around this curve, and then leave it as that, and just do the street corners.
Do you have any others to talk about? I've been trying to keep track as we go along here, but I'm not sure I have.
I think that's it.
All right, well, Steve, you're certainly more than welcome to hop in discussion-wise. What do we think?
I think the North Olman with the safety, if there's a lot of traffic along there, that's probably a really good idea.
Then I don't want to put them every 300 foot because of the property and a half. I'd say it's maybe over 600 foot on that one.
On North Old. On North Old.
Yeah.
South.
Not every north.
North.
Oh, north.
North Olman?
Maybe the 8 to 23.
Yeah.
Don't give it some money.
Terry, give me some perspective. I mean, you talk about 650 a light. How do you manage that in your budget? I mean,
It
what
come-
are the lights that got 650 more a month? I mean, how do you?
Comes out of the Public Health and Safety Linden's budget. You want to talk a little bit about? I think you guys were going to.
money. Of course. I was talking to Dick, it'll be anywhere from.
Go up to the microphone, will you, in case we're on. I don't know that we're on. But
It would be anywhere from $6.50 to $15 per light, depending on what size light you put in,
Per month.
per month.
why is it taken out of your budget?
It's out of traffic division. And you could switch that, we could take it out of, we could put it in another budget,
Well,
it'd be
it
fine.
seems like a street department thing, you know?
Yeah,
That's where it used to be.
yeah.
Well, I got to tell you, on the one hand, I think when you have new development, you have new development. You have curb and gutter, and you've got sewer, and you've got water, and you've got streetlights. And there's been an awful lot of development on Pullman from 8th to 23rd. And there's a lot of, I don't know if there's a lot, but there's a number of driveways and street access and things that are pretty dark. But on the other hand, I think Steve has a good point. At some point, a light at $6.50 a month or $15 a month adds up to real money. Like Everett Dirksen said, senator from Illinois, a billion here, a billion there. Pretty soon you're talking about real money, and that's the same kind of thing here. I'm not real excited about lighting up the lake.
I guess my point was, what is that top what is that top number? Is it 150,000 a year, 200,000 a year that we're spending? If we lit everything the way we would want.
Right now, it's about 140,000 a year.
And about how much of the lighting do we think we have within the city taken care of? 60%, 70%, 80%?
Good guess.
Okay, I don't know. So if we had it at 100, what's that dollar figure? And then how do we balance that dollar figure with, I'm concerned, safety concerns at corners, safety concerns in long stretches where we've got traffic going 40 or 50 miles an hour. I'm more concerned on safety where there are houses versus where there aren't houses.
And I'm not on the committee either, but just in that shot there with North Olman, I would think we would start, or Harmony, I'm sorry, we would start with the areas that have residences, you would think, because to me, it's more of security than it is anything else, and safety.
On that, and just another thought, where does the bike path go and then terminate and go into the trails? Right there?
Bike path ends, the asphalt trail ends
Here?
here, goes all the way around here, all the way
Okay.
to there.
I know where it is there.
And then the new bike trail
Goes
goes from
there.
here, throughout here, all the way down to here.
To Camper Road.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But those lights wouldn't make it usable at night.
No, that type of trail isn't, that's the
Right.
mountain bike type.
Yeah.
The other type that ends up there is the, actually you can ride a road bike.
This trail, you could almost be to about here, and a majority of it would be lit if you continued lighting, going along there.
What I'd like to do is, Terry, if you would cue up your maps again. We're not gonna take a vote. I know this isn't Robert's Rules of Order, but I'd like to go through them in order and get a sense of the committee if we're interested. And if we are, I'll put it on the list, and if we're not, then I'll take it off the list and we'll have a motion at the end. So let's start with Quiet Lane. Is there anybody who wants to make the case? I guess we'll do it this way. Anybody want to make a case against?
No, and I've been in that area, there's a lot more development there, and I think I can see a real need for it there, so. And I
No?
think that need is gonna continue to grow.
Okay, then I'm putting that on the okay list when we get to motion time. Whatever you got next, Terry, just tell me now.
We'll go with Thompson from Norway.
Okay, that's that street over by West Lane, right?
Yeah.
Where's that new wellness center going? Anywhere close there?
Yep. It's going, actually on the agenda, I'll just talk a little bit about it. On the agenda tonight is to set the date for a public assessment hearing for Muller Lumber. That's actually a housing development in here. So that's on the agenda tonight. The new wellness center is going in here.
Okay. All right, thoughts on Thompson? Are we again that, for it?
I think too, there's a lot of homes and small children on that.
Okay, I'm putting that on the okay list. What do you got next?
We'll go and do Holman.
This 8th to 23rd?
Yeah.
And there's the case that there's some development on the south and a little bit on the north, but in between, it's still a lot of bare land.
Terry, if we did that 500-foot thing in there, are we running a risk having to change that with lots or something in the future?
We're always going to have a risk when you're doing stuff in undeveloped areas.
So,
If anything, I'd do the 600 deal, and then that way, once development comes in, we could always add a light in between, and it would be per our policy of the 300 spacing.
all right, I'm not up on my streets, but the street names, but when you make the turn to go north, there's a number of residential streets, you live in that area, residential streets that you can turn onto from Ullman. There's the countryside apartments that you can turn into.
Oh, that's further north.
Yeah.
That's
Right.
up here.
But what I'm getting at is, I guess I would like lights those places. You know, I'm not criticizing the 500 feet, but rather than do an arbitrary 500 feet, plant the lights where the populated areas are.
Yeah, ProBuild's development continues, adding roads and.
Right.
Actually, we have lights. I don't have all the, what I should probably do is just go around and locate every single light in town. But we do have lights at Omen and Pebble Beach, lights at Omen and Pinehurst, lights at Sawgrass. And this is Country Drive. We do have a light here, and we do have a camp. So we have a light at every intersection along Omen in this stretch.
On up to Sharpstone, those two arrow
Yeah,
points.
yeah.
Arrow points.
And up here, you got a light up here, Jeff?
Yes.
So I think we got lights there all the way from at least Arrowhead Pass,
So what's the advantage of lighting in between then?
where you don't have any street intersections in between. Like you don't have any street intersections between 8th and 23rd. Should we or shouldn't we? That's the question.
Well, I think that it is in my opinion, because I drive that often, and I know it's so dark, and you do have a lot of bikers and pedestrians on that street. I think that if we can do them every 500 feet and at least give some light, and the fact that there are so many deer that cross there all year long.
I guess, I'm not arguing with that, but if we're gonna do something like that, let's do it 600.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
let's
then we
go.
can do the 300
Yeah.
Sure.
in between, in the future. And I guess the other thing, of course, it's hotter than the dickens out and it's light, but we've got a plan for winter too, when it's dark at 3:45. I mean, honest to God,
I know.
you know.
That's the time.
That's the real time when the need is there. Yeah.
Okay, so you've got them at every intersection, and so you're gonna put them every 600 feet otherwise?
Yep.
Is that the idea?
Yep.
Okay, again, we're not voting, but I just want to get a sense of the committee, is that
Yes.
okay? Okay, where are we going next?
I'm gonna write this note. Okay, let's go 23rd Avenue from Wisconsin to Highway 37.
Can you run that, Steve, on the thing?
Usually don't run it in the dark.
There's no,
The side of the road's wide enough that you're not on the road, because it's got a big shoulder as opposed to Olin that doesn't have any shoulder. But there aren't any lights there.
These locations would be on existing poles right here.
and we have I would say we should do those.
I don't see any more development happening over here other than, I think this lot is too low, so I think what you see is, other than something possible here at some time, is, because,
Does the Baptist church have lighting by their, I just think you've got to do that.
Other than their sign.
other than their sign, there's nothing there.
So what do we think?
I would say yes.
So 5 lights.
I'm not,
That's on existing poles.
That's on existing poles, yeah.
okay,
What? I had 5. Okay, this one we could probably get rid of because there's not a new street there, but this is a platted street. So let's just talk about Joe Jean Court. I have 3 lights here at Joe Jean Court.
I guess, for me, if the individual's gonna put up the poles, there's gonna be development there sometime. And if they're willing to pay for the poles, I guess we can pay for the lights. That's my thought. Other thoughts?
Okay, Wood Circle and Fiala Road. I just got one here on the corner.
That's basically the same scenario.
Yeah,
And it's
We-
an intersection, I think that's.
yeah. Okay, National Guard Road and Fiala Road. I just got one on the corner.
And I like that one too, I think that's an important location, just 'cause that National Guard Road, I think it's traveling through town.
Okay, I didn't have a dot, but I had it on the agenda for North Harmon and National Guard Road.
I think that was necessary there. I know it's the next one down. and-
Omen,
I'm not so sure right now I'm doing all my curves up there,
let's just talk about the one on the corner
yeah. And
Almond.
up on the industrial road.
and this one up here. So we got one at Omen and National Guard Road. And then Omen and Industrial.
You kind of indicated that during the soccer games that that's an important intersection.
Yeah, my only comment on the one at Industrial Road, the National Guard is really lit up.
Oh, yeah.
And, I mean, like you can see it from the highway,
Mhm.
at night. So I don't, to be consistent, yeah, you'd have one there, but I don't know if it's gonna have,
If it's a safety thing.
yeah, that's a safety.
Maybe you can look at that one, Terry.
Okay,
Yeah, let's take that one off the list and have you
okay.
look at it at night and see what it looks like. I gotta tell you honestly, I'm not too keen about any of this.
I think when you get up into the residential area, it's fine, right, curves back down. I don't think it's needed yet.
Was this a request from someone?
This was not, but after talking to a couple people in the area, they said, oh, God, it'd be nice to have it. But,
Will there be more development coming, do you see that along that stretch?
I don't see much happening here.
I guess, for myself, I'd be game to look at them from here over since we're talking about residential, but I'm not too keen for that. That's myself.
Okay, so are you thinking from here? From here going over to here?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay,
And where Joe Williams lives there, that stretch there, there's nothing. You almost get to the top of the hill, in my mind, there,
Right.
and then go past the houses.
oh, would you put one here?
That's
On the curve? Okay.
That's just wooded area.
The only two things, just devil's advocate, would be kind of nice to have one in the middle because on a curve and along your bike trail.
I would be in support of that, I think that's a good idea.
Because we try to do them on curves.
Terry, I'm going to count on you to write up the specifics of this for the minutes. I've been trying to take notes, but I'm having a hard time understanding my own notes at
Okay.
this point. I don't know that Marilyn will be able to understand them.
Can I just, when I hear that this is coming out of the traffic and the public safety budget, that, to me, that says that this is something that we need to be thinking about safety. So, and you say along those curves is an important place. I would say, can we light up, just put one at each of those curves that are along there previously, that are along the undeveloped part of North Harmon, North Harmon? Those two curves. Would that be at all beneficial to have one at each one of those? Like right there in the center where you're,
So you're saying put one,
maybe put one right about there and then one down on the other corner and maybe one in between. Maybe we don't need however many there are there, but maybe it would be nice to have one on each of the corners and one in the middle, just so that there's a little bit of light. Would that be at all beneficial, or would it?
Terry, is this a road?
It's a driveway going back into Smith Manufacturing.
All right. Well, we're sort of in agreement on everything now, except for the latest proposal about the curves here. Comments on Susan's idea? Before we again?
I feel if you're gonna put them in, you gotta put them on each side. You're just filling everything in. You know, I just should not do it for now.
Okay.
Well, maybe that's something that we put off until next time.
Okay.
Revisit it.
Okay. So are we in agreement with Livesey Lane and Anthony, which is right here? 407th and Anthony, and 407th and North Harmon. That would include what we were doing along the housing.
Now, are you adding one more? as you
Yeah,
go
I'm adding
forward?
one here.
All right.
There'll probably be one here and then one in here somewhere. So from this drawing, I'm adding an additional 3.
All right.
Now from here going to the canal, I'm not planning on doing anything. And I'll look at Canal Circle and I'll bring that up at a later time. So I'm not, do you know if there's one there? Canal Circle and North Harmon?
406.
No, the one right here. There, we think there's one there, so we should be covered.
Okay, we have a general sense
There
of,
is.
Okay.
She lives out there and she says there is one.
Okay.
Thank you.
we have a general sense of what we're talking about. Terry's going to write up the specifics there. Do we have a motion to approve these?
Second.
Moved by Desher, seconded by Sharks. Any further comments? Again, Terry, I'll have you write up the specifics. You've got an understanding of what we want, and then you'll be able to put the specific additional ones in along the
Yep.
North Harmon. All right. If there's no further discussion, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. I need a motion to adjourn.
Move.
By Tronis, second by Desher. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
We are adjourned. Spend your money and run into your time. There you go. Oh, yeah. I heard anyway.
All right, we'll call the traffic commission meeting to order. Entertain a motion to approve the agenda.
Second.
Motion and second. Any additions or corrections? Not all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion's carried. First item of discussion, discussion on closing of the Kibbe Park access road on Highway 37. Terry's got it pulled up here, and this is the gravel road that approaches Highway 37. It's not a 90-degree angle, but most of you are aware of where it's at. I believe this came through either the Lake Committee or the Park Committee as a request to close it. We have checked with DOT. They would be in support of it also. I don't know if anybody would like to address it. It's in the audience.
How's the accident issue been on that particular road? Like,
I'm not aware of any recent personally, I did not do it, but check on them though. Now, the only other thing I was, maybe a possible option is down the road, if this is, move it up a little, Terry. No, down, I guess.
The other up?
The other up.
Right here, we're only about 200 feet to connecting this trail. If at some time you'd want to make a trail along 37th where you come out to a 90-degree, where you keep access, where you can still drive there and access it after we do like the Avian repair or removal of the trees, that would be an option down the road. Something that
Is that the one we're talking about, or is it further north that it's coming onto the,
we're talking about the one up there,
yeah,
right here.
yeah, okay.
Yeah.
That's what I
But
thought.
down the road, I'm saying if we close this, there's an option, we could still make a trail right along here.
Sure.
That would come out about the spillway.
Trail for vehicle
Vehicles,
traffic, or
yes,
like, you
yes.
think it's wide enough for?
Yeah, oh, you'd have to more, yeah. I mean, it'd take tree removal and you'd have to make wide enough for cars. That's an option down the road.
Is that one of the areas that was some concern with vehicles going and mudding around out there, or not?
It's one of them, yes, where they come through there.
Because I got some telephone calls from a lot of fishermen that love that access
Okay.
and stating that they use it quite often and they do like it. And they also reiterated the fact that they weren't aware of any accidents. Of course, they wouldn't
They would know, yeah, probably wouldn't know about it.
have, of all of them, but they probably would have heard of some if there was. Obviously, you know, the way that exits on.
It's just an awkward access point because it's not 90
That-
degrees and you're at an angle,
that it is.
gravel coming up the way. It would reduce traffic flying through, cutting through.
Do we currently have traffic that goes both directions on that, and could we limit it to just one direction?
I imagine they go both directions.
You can, yeah.
Now, the road on the other side really narrow, going up that hill,
We'd have to widen that.
because I always like, I use this one quite
Yeah, we
frequently.
would have to widen
Oh.
that, coming up on top of Kitty Park, onto North Farm.
Have you seen any issues or anything out there?
You know, since we closed it at Sandy Beach, it's probably improved a little,
Yeah.
tearing through there.
And the one that's by the West End Bridge.
West End Bridge,
That
same
one,
thing.
there was a lot of mud holes out there. You know, they like to go racing through there. I didn't see much. It looks like it was tore up when I looked at it.
That's why we have it on as a discussion item, if it's something you want to take action on.
If the closure proposal, you'd still get into Kibbe Park and down to that parking lot
Sure.
from North Harmon,
Off North Farm,
and we'd just close it at the end of the parking lot?
yeah.
Because that's the handicap bridge there.
of the
Or
fishing
the
pier?
Fishing
Yes.
pier.
One of them.
Marty, you're a lake man. What do you think?
Yeah, haven't heard any, I haven't, got any calls really on it. The one thing I know from accidents wise, from living out there for 40-some years, that seems to be the problem, I guess, unless there's accidents I don't know about either, but we've had probably more accidents at the intersection of 37 and
North Farm,
Harmon than we've
Yeah.
had down there, so,
far more traffic.
yeah. But I can see how some of the fishermen probably would, some would be upset.
They like that access.
Mhm. It gets used quite a bit.
Doesn't sound like it's a big problem.
If it was like,
What-
there was
what
a
are we-
major problem, I mean, then it's.
You want to monitor it?
Let's
for a
keep
while?
it on the radar and.
See how
just
things
kind of-
look after they do the store repair there?
Yeah, and then once we get close to doing the bike path out in that area, then it might make some sense to do something different, because it really narrows up there and,
Okay.
Is it, is it on our proposal to get something one done? I mean, like you said.
Sound like one of the
something
committees.
It came
Is
from
there
some
no
committee.
reason for it? or-
Dusty said it came from one of the committees.
We had a
Last year,
request
probably.
from one of the owners. Well, we had a request from someone that lives in that area to close it, and then I think it was brought to Park Board, and then that's when they brought it here.
Yeah.
for it.
Okay. You guys good with that?
Yeah.
Just take no action on it. All right, new business, we had a request to switch the yield sign at 10th in Wisconsin from north to south yield to move it to east-west, from north-south yield to east-west yield signs. It's currently north-south right now, right, Dick?
Yeah, I believe. Isn't that probably 10th and Edmonds
Yes.
instead of Wisconsin?
10th and Edmonds? Is somebody here to address that? Go ahead and step up here, and just identify yourself and let us know how it's been going.
That's
Because
actually
we
my
told you
fault.
to come
Last
back.
time I was here, I was so nervous that I just made everything messed up. And things have actually, are about the same. They still go like it's a racetrack. There's one car in particular I've noticed a lot more lately. Trying to catch his license plate number, but he goes so fast that I can't even catch it.
You just think it'd be more effective?
Yeah, if it's on 10th instead of Edmonds. Sorry about the confusion, that was my
We
fault.
talked about that. The reason we put it there, because you're supposed to put it at
Yeah, hide strap.
the minor control, and the one that has the least amount of traffic is the control, not the most amount.
Right,
But our east-west has the most amount, but you're saying it's faster,
yeah,
which we should never use these for speed control,
I understand.
not supposed to. But it can work. So.
Are there, do you have, I know I'm not on the committee, but do you have signs that say children at play or
No, not
anything
much
like
anymore.
that?
Could we put something like that up? Do you think maybe that would help?
Speed limit signs seem to have more of an effect.
Mom, is there a speed limit sign over there?
Yeah. The speed limit sign, it's more enforceable. The children at play, what does it mean to some people? I mean, they may slow down, but there's no extra enforcement with it. And we could move these signs, it's just gonna be a little bit of manpower. I mean, the material's there, so. Danny had talked to me about this, and I think you had called Councilman Dan Allen also possibly.
I think my mom talked to him.
Yeah. And when we put them in, we told you to monitor it if you'd noticed or you needed anything to come back, so.
So it would be more effective, I think, if we could switch it.
Yeah.
I know that's, like I said, it's not helping.
What was your name?
Amanda Nava?
Nationally, we've gotten away from children at play signs because it's an advertisement for people we don't advertise to.
I understand that totally.
Yeah.
And then I agree with that one.
So, would more speed limit be more effective than yield?
I'm
We
not,
could try the yield, I mean.
I-
What
We
would
could
you
try
like?
stop sign.
Stop sign.
Easily.
You can-
Well, I was just thinking.
Yeah, we could put a stop sign there.
I think that would be better than a yield sign, because too many people ignore the yield signs.
Stop sign for east and west.
I don't like yield signs because they get ignored anyway, and then you know you've got the right of way, so, the ones I've experienced where I work is there's a lot of I've had several of them just almost hit, they're not even looking at the yield sign, they go racing through, and then I forget about it.
Right. Is that a motion, Jeff?
That's a motion.
Okay.
Awesome.
All right. Motion is to put stop signs for east-west traffic at 10th and Evans.
Yes.
Okay, and Dave, you second?
Yeah.
it? Okay, any other discussion? Not, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign, motion's carried. Entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved. Second.
Motion second, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign, motion adjourned.
Thanks, guys.
Oh, yeah.
Get a bigger.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Do we have someone here from Trinity Lutheran for invocation? Apparently not. We will-
I'll get it.
No.
Our Father in heaven, we come before thee at this time as in the capacity of a city council meeting. We're thankful for this beautiful community that we call our home, and we ask for thy presence to be with us this night as we discuss the matters that are affecting the citizens of this community. We ask for wisdom and thy blessing to be upon this meeting and all of the people that live here, and these things we say in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen.
Roll call.
Olson,
Here.
Rice,
Here.
Tronis,
Here.
Gosher,
Here.
Harrington,
Here.
Allen, Charts,
Here.
Smith.
Here.
Having a quorum, we will convene the meeting. Councilman Allen is vacationing this week and will not be able to join us. At this time, I would like to take the opportunity to introduce our new city administrator. Stephanie Elwine started a week ago today and has been extremely busy familiarizing herself with the departments, and so we're off and running, and we welcome Stephanie. Next, if Billy Kelly would step forward, please. We will administer the oath of office as the Human Resources Director. If you would, raise your right hand, please. Repeat after me. I, Billy Kelly,
I, Billy Kelly,
having been appointed to the office of Human Resources Director
having been appointed to the office of Human Resources Director
within and for the city of Mitchell, Davidson County, South Dakota,
within and for the city of Mitchell, Davidson County, South Dakota,
do solemnly swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States,
do solemnly swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States,
the Constitution of the State of South Dakota,
the Constitution of the State of South Dakota,
and the ordinances of said city of Mitchell,
and the ordinances of said city of Mitchell,
and that I will faithfully and impartially,
and that I will faithfully and impartially,
to the best of my knowledge and ability,
to the best of my knowledge and ability,
perform all the duties of the office of Human Resources Director.
perform all the duties of the office of Human Resources Director. Thank you.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Next is the consent agenda items. Items appearing on the consent agenda may be removed by the city council members for discussion at the beginning of the formal agenda items. Does anyone on the council have anything that they wish to remove from the consent agenda?
I don't have anything I want to remove, but I want to get on my horse one more time. It seems to me that under the consent agenda, we could list, after all of the items tonight, for example, we would list under the consent, entertain a motion for the city council to adjourn and sit as the Board of Adjustment. Then set the dates. Then entertain a motion for the city to adjourn as the Board of Adjustment, reconvene as the city council, and put all that on the consent calendar. And then when it comes to the actual hearing, then obviously we would be Board of Adjustment again. And then, you know, they're not too bad tonight, but I mean, sometimes, good Lord, we've got the entire atlas on the agenda that the mayor has to read, and we're just setting a date. So anyway, I think we can do that. We do everything else in the consent. If you just include the motions to go into the Board of Adjustment, adjourn as the Board of Adjustment, and just put setting the date, I think that it's not a big deal tonight, but.
That certainly is an option. The other option is, we are not required by law to set dates. We could remove them altogether if you so chose to do that.
I kind of like having the setting of the dates because it basically then notifies the public, and then they have the ability to come in and discuss it if they so choose.
No, I agree with that.
Okay, that's fine. I'm just letting you know that they need, it's not required that we have that. But if you want to do that, is there some agreement that, what Mel has suggested, that we try to incorporate that?
Right.
Yeah, and obviously, we do the hearings, and we've got to do it.
Yes. Having that, is there anything on the consent agenda that anyone wishes to have removed?
I got one, item L, just for discussion purposes, is that, when it comes to supplemental, I do have some questions on how that's going to be funded, so.
Okay?
But I'll do that.
Well, if it's just questions, can we just talk about questions?
Well, what it is, if you look back on the supplemental, it talks about the money's coming out of the budget for for that project. Some out of the general fund, some out of the money that was put aside from the sale of property or whatever that was.
Short stabilization.
That was, and my question is that the money from the sale of the lots out there? If that is, then that was some of the, that money was already obligated to paving the West End boat ramp, or the West End boat ramp. And that's why I wanted to be sure before we passed it, that, because I keep hearing about these funds for the lake, and I'm not quite sure what is what on those fundings. I just wanted to make you aware that there was Gary, am I right, $60,000?
62,000, and that is a budgeted item through Park Department. I found out today.
It is through the
Yeah.
budget.
Yeah, so that is not
The
money
lake
coming
committee-
in.
Park Lake Committee, that was gonna come out of that money.
Yeah,
All right, so then there's no,
We need not, full,
no.
okay? Anything else?
Are we just gonna do questions, or are we gonna motion and approve and then have discussion?
Well, the way we,
On that, or?
No, on anything else on the list.
the way we did it in the legislature was, the consent agenda was open for questions, but if you wanted to vote no, then you had to pull it off.
Okay,
So-
so we can just have questions? then?
Yeah, we can
Okay.
discuss anything, and then if you're not happy, we can pull it
I-
off and vote
it's-
no.
I guess I just got a couple points, and it's not, it's just point of information. On our cash balance information, and if you look at page 31, we're down 215,960, and to me, that's not the important part. The important part is 85% of that comes from health insurance. We're down 187,000 there, and that we've spent more than we've taken in, and we're only in halfway through. So just point of thought for budget discussions coming up and how much money we have. The other question I have, and it's just a difference, and because I kind of want to know when the air race is. We've got two different dates. One says 25th and 26th of July, and the other says the 26th and 27th of July on page 45 and 47. Is there anybody that knows which of those is correct?
I believe it's this Saturday and Sunday, so it'd be 26 and 27.
Okay. Okay?
Depends on how much engine trouble they have.
Well, I hope they get here. And I guess one other point, and we've got the special event request on here, and it came up from this Saturday. I happened to be walking on Main Street after the parade, and it's filthy. There were dirty diapers, pop bottles, pop cans, breezy wrappers, you name it. And I walked from 6th Street down to 1st on both sides of the street. And I don't know if cleanup should be part of parade requests or special event requests, but the parade got over at noonish, 12:30ish. And granted, yeah, it was only 2 hours later, but it was really dirty. I mean, stuff all over the place. And obviously, somebody went and cleaned it up, but it certainly wasn't cleaned up that afternoon.
I think that's an excellent suggestion, or, we have fees for everything. We tack on a cleanup fee, and if you don't want to pay it, you commit to cleaning it up. I think that's an excellent point. My daughter works for Park and Rec in the summer, and I know your daughter used to. And this was one of her complaints, picking up after people for special events. It's been a good experience for her. She's become very, very much more responsible after.
And somebody, Jay, confuses me a little bit. Doesn't Walmart already have a license?
They want a license to be able to sell wine on Sunday, which is a separate, if you have a liquor license at the present time, you're not permitted to sell wine. But if you have a wine license, you are then permitted to sell wine on Sunday only.
So versus Coborn's that sells it, Walmart now wants to sell it.
Yes, they have the appropriate license. I would entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda. Terry?
I have one item, item number P for pay estimates. I put on your desk, I found an error on one of the pay estimates, pay number 8, pay estimate number 8. It was just a calculation error. And if we need to pull it in order to approve this new revised pay estimate, then that's what I would request.
Which letter?
Letter P for pay estimates.
I would move to approve the consent items with the addition of the amendment to pay estimate.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the consent agenda. Is there anyone from the public who wishes to have anything on the consent agenda removed? If not, we'll have a roll call vote.
Excuse me, Olson,
Aye.
Rice,
Aye.
Tronis,
Aye.
Dosher,
Aye.
Barrington,
Aye.
Allen, Turks,
Aye.
Smith.
Aye.
Motion carried. Citizens input, if you need to address the mayor, members of city council on an item that was not on the agenda, please come forward to the podium, state your name and your concern. Presentations are limited to 3 minutes. Items will be considered, but no action will be taken at this time. Anyone from the public have anything that they wish to bring before the council? Council members.
I have something. I had someone ask about the progress of our completion of the bike path. And so I sent a note to Dusty and told him that I was going to put him on the spot. Is he here?
He's not here.
He's not here. He's on vacation. He dashed the bullet. So the bridge, is there any progress or do we have any idea when that will all come to fruition?
The bridge has been completed in design, and I'm not sure where it is into the bid process with the DOT. I think they're thinking of possibly just waiting until late this fall in order to bid it, just because of some of the pricing and changes in the DOT that they have made in order not to bid projects anymore during the early or middle part of the summer because of how bid pricing has been coming in. But I will do some checking and find out when the bid project will be ready to go for the bridge.
Okay, sounds good, thanks.
Anyone else have anything? Now we'll move on. The first item that was removed, or the only item, item P, pay estimates. Mary, you want to address that?
We approved that with the,
Okay.
He included that.
Yeah.
All right, fine. Committee meetings, public properties.
Public properties met tonight at 6:40. We had a number of light pole requests, and I'm going to have Terry write those up specifically and give them to Marilyn. But in round figures, we were talking about 50 additional lights in town. Northwest Public Service puts up the poles if you want a special kind of pole, and there were a few property owners who did. Then you have to pay for that pole yourself. And the lights, depending on the kind of light we put in, cost us between $6.50 and $15 a month. We had a sort of philosophical discussion about when we should do this. If we should do this as developments come in and just put the lights in at the same time like we do with streets and curb and gutter and sewer, or if we should wait until there's a request, and the general consensus of the committee and the guests of the committee was that we should continue with the present policy and wait until there are requests. And so everyone was here for the meeting. I don't think I'll go through all the requests. There are a number of them, but basically what we're trying to do is to improve the lighting and public safety in the city with the addition of roughly 50 more lights. If you're interested in the exact locations, look at the legals. And the committee adjourned at 7:16.
Next, traffic.
Traffic Commission met tonight at about 7:20 PM. There was 2 items on the agenda. The first was a discussion on the closing of Kibbe Park access road onto Highway 37. After discussion, it was decided to monitor this. And we'll monitor it and see if there's any further action, but no action was taken at this time. Next was one request to switch the yield signs at 10th and Edmonds from north-south yield signs to east-west yield signs, and a motion was made to place a stop sign for east-west traffic at 10th and Edmonds, and this was approved, and we adjourned at about 7:30.
Entertain a motion to approve the committee reports.
So moved.
Second.
Motion and a second to approve the committee reports. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. And at this time, I think I will address the addendum, which is to set the date of July 28, 2014 for special council meeting to award the VFW demolition rebid project number 2014-30 at 5 p.m. at City Hall.
I'm in favor of this, but I will not be here. I'll be out of town.
Is there anyone else? Are we assured that we will have a quorum?
I will be able to make it, and Danny said he will also.
Okay, we should have at least 5 then. Then I would entertain a motion.
I'll move that we have, set the date for July 28th for the opening and bid awarding for the demolition of VFW.
Have a motion and second to set the date of July 28, 2014 for the special council meeting. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
One question, Ken, on that. I saw 2 different times on the opening. I saw 1 o'clock, and then I
It
saw
should be,
one for
it
1:30.
should be 1:30. The paper had 1 o'clock,
Okay.
but it should be 1:30.
And we're having a special meeting at 5?
Yes.
You said 5 o'clock?
Could you be sure that I get a copy beforehand?
Certainly. I entertain a motion for the city council to adjourn and sit as the Board of Adjustment.
So moved.
Motion second to sit as Board of Adjustment. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Set the date, August 4, 2014, for the hearing on the application of Shannon Jones for a conditional use permit to operate a family daycare in her home located at 518 West 5th Avenue.
Move to set the date?
Second.
Motion second, set the date. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Set the date, August 4th, 2014, for hearing on the application of Kayla Lux for a conditional use permit to operate a family daycare in her home located at 516 North Esmond Street.
Move to set the date.
Second.
Motion second, set the date. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Hearing on the application of Scott Studer for a side yard or corner lot variance of 16 feet instead of the 20 feet as required to place a residence on the lot and construct an attached garage located at 120 East Douglas Avenue.
Mayor and council members, if I could direct your attention to the Planning Commission minutes in the back of your packet, you would see that the Planning Commission held a hearing on this request at their last regular meeting. And after the hearing, holding a hearing, they have recommended approval of the variance. I don't know if Mr. Studer is here. If he's here, if you've got any specific questions of him, or if anybody else wants just to comment on it.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion and a second to approve the application for the variance. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Hearing on the application of Whittier Lofts LLC for a front yard variance of 19 feet instead of the 30 feet and a side yard on a corner of 0 feet instead of the 20 feet as required to construct garage buildings located at 410 West 2nd Avenue.
Again, if I could direct your attention to the Planning Commission minutes in the back of your packet, you would see that the Planning Commission held a hearing on this request as well, and have recommended approval. Basically, what this is the old Whittier School, now known as the Whittier Lofts and that development, and they wish to put some garage-type buildings. And on the west side, and the way the Planning Commission was feeling was as long as they line it up with the same distance of the old school. And so that's the rationale behind that. And they recommended unanimously.
Neil, what does zero mean?
I know.
It means zero. They want to be right on the property line.
They're gonna build their,
Garage right on the property line.
to the sidewalk, or where
Yeah.
the fence would be, that they were gonna fence in the school ground.
So the garage would be right on the sidewalk, right on the edge of the
Right onto their edge property line, correct.
Move it back to line up with the edge of the current.
Right. So it'd be right up against the west property line going north and south.
The south would be open.
Nine.
The south of the building is open.
Yeah. There should be, if you got your planning commission packet, you would see that there's a copy of the plan they submitted.
So does that, if it's right there and on the sidewalk, does that present an issue with snow?
Planning commission recommend approval, but obviously they could move it back further if they wish. Their recommendation is to go to zero.
Well, I mean, that development has been, I live in that area, and that has been fantastic for the neighborhood.
Also, I think what's also, Barry, if you think about it too, is they put garages there, they need some room to back out. And if I'm not mistaken, I believe there's an old boiler type building there too.
Yeah.
So you need you need room to back out. So I don't know if Brad is here or Ross is here, if you've got more specific questions of it, of the applicant, or if there's anybody else wishes to comment about it.
I see under the drawing that the garage is on the sidewalk, but you're backing out into the parking lot. And so there's really no concerns unless you're drunk or stupid about hitting pedestrians.
Correct.
One would think so.
I'd move approval of the application of Whittier Lots.
Second. Motion and second to approve the application for Whittier Lofts. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carried. Hearing on the application of David J. and Paige E. Radke for a front yard variance of 22 feet instead of the 25 feet as required to expand this attached garage located at 1513 South Miller Street.
Again, if I direct your attention to the Planning Commission minutes, you would see that the Planning Commission held a hearing on this request as well. Basically, what the applicant is doing is, or wishes to do, is to add an extension to the existing garage closer to the street. And the Planning Commission held its hearing and have recommended approval. I don't know if anybody, representatives of the Radkes are here, if you've got questions of them. No.
Move to approve.
Second.
Motion second to approve the variance. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carried. Hearing on the application of Park Family Dental Center, the applicant at Mitchell Christian School owner for a conditional use permit for construction for a professional office and use for personal health services located at 714 West 18th Avenue.
Again, if I could direct your attention to the Planning Commission minutes, you would see that the Planning Commission did hold a hearing on this request. Why this is before you is the property is currently zoned R4, which is a high-density residential, so these types of professional officers or personal health services is a conditional use. So that's the reason why it's gone through the hearing process. As you would see, that we did have a couple neighbors that did testify in person at the hearing, as well as the applicants were there as well. And again, the minutes pretty well speak for themselves. However, the Planning Commission does have a recommendation for you with some conditions. They did recommend approval with 5 conditions. One is, this is more objective, but it says the city, along with the citizens, will advocate for a traffic light at the intersection of Minnesota and Bypass. I know that's something we've been advocating for the DOT for quite some time, but thought it was appropriate that be in the record. That a drainage plan has to be approved by the Public Works Department prior to issuance of a building permit. That the applicants consult with the neighbors prior to installation of any outdoor lighting to prevent any type of light encroachment. That appropriate privacy landscaping be installed on the Hart property. In other words, trying to figure out a way to mitigate some of those, mitigate some of the visual issues that may be there in the backyards. And also that we encourage the applicants to put a stop sign as they go from the parking lot onto the 18th Avenue. Those are the recommendations of the Planning Commission. Again, as your Board of Adjustments, you can either accept these recommendations, add additional ones, or delete them, or whatever you feel is appropriate. I don't know if the applicant is here, or representatives of their builders, or if there's any neighbors who wish to comment. So,
Neil, before you relinquish the podium to whoever, I think this is the first time I've ever seen an applicant and the owner on a request.
because they haven't purchased it yet. That's right. Once in a while you'll see these is because the transaction may be contingent upon the approval of it.
Okay.
So technically, the landowner is still Mitchell Christian, but obviously, I can't speak for them, but the deal may be contingent on this, so.
So, I know I should know this, but there's not, where will the access come from? They'll have to go to Minnesota and then turn onto 18th?
18th, correct.
Is that what they'll have to do to get to it?
Yeah, the parcel will butt up right up against the houses there on Minnesota.
And the condition that you said about the DOT putting in a light, where would that be?
Well, somewhere on the bypass in Minnesota, because that's a state highway.
Oh.
Yeah,
But
we
that's,
It's something we wanted in a record somewhere.
That's a wish.
Yeah,
Yeah.
That was in all reality, unless people start getting killed at that corner, they're not going to put one in.
But it was something they felt strongly about.
Terry's got your picture here.
I don't know if anybody else wishes to comment on it. So.
So the site will be right in here with a long driveway, as you can see on that plan. Go ahead.
And the property will go the parcel, my understanding, will go all the way up to the DOT's right of way. Am I correct in that?
A lot of people here tonight, makes me wonder why you're here, but is there anybody here to speak about this? If you could come up to the microphone, because we're on the internet, and you wouldn't believe how many people watch this, and they complain about not being able to hear.
I'm one of the property owners on 18th in Minnesota. Glenn Ellerton is my name. I don't have a problem with it going in there. I don't want to be against the business and any of that. We've got some water issues already, so the drainage is a big thing to me. And they did kind of talk that it's going the other direction. I don't know if I've got any resource saying that that's positively going to happen, I guess. But anyway, we're concerned with the drainage. We've already got the school's parking lot there with the lights. It's not a big thing, but I don't want to look out my bedroom window and have real bright lights. I don't think that's a major issue, but just we don't have a problem with it going in there. We just want to make sure it remembers that, trying to be good neighbors, I guess is what I'm saying.
The drainage issue, it drains to the east right now, or on 18th, or what? It gets into the backyards here, or?
Yes. I mean, it doesn't.
You're concerned that it might?
Yeah.
Okay.
I guess, and the other issue would be, we've already got snow drifting problem there, and that's with a alfalfa field. I don't know about.
Blowing across.
Yeah. And so I guess if they help us out with the way that they remove their snow from the lot. So I mean, not a lot of major issues, but just keep us in mind, keep the neighbors in mind as you're building it, I guess, constructing it.
well, I would move approval with the conditions.
All five of them?
That one light I'm having a problem with.
I don't
The
think we
light
can
with-
dictate that.
the-
It'll
Without-
never
without
be
the
built.
light. Yeah, without the light.
Without the light?
You're relying on the state with the light.
Oh,
Well-
yeah, the stoplight, yeah.
No,
No, that.
no.
It just says to advocate for
Says
it.
to advocate
Okay,
for it,
okay.
so,
All right.
yeah.
Yeah, we totally got that it's not ours, it's there. We just,
It's not ours to decide.
it just, they wanted to feel like they wanted to have it, at least in the record.
And maybe that's a good,
And, yeah, and again, putting my former state legislator hat on, you can say all you want that we want a light, but if it's in the minutes of something, that counts more than you just coming up and saying we want a light. I don't know why that is, but it is, especially with the bureaucracy, so.
do we have a motion in a second?
That's second. We have a motion.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the application for Hart Family Dental with conditions. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carried. Entertain a motion for the Board of Adjustment to adjourn and the City Council to reconvene in regular session.
So moved.
Yeah, I hope I guess right.
This train,
What did you get up and do?
There's a fan button, that's my,
Next item on the agenda is discussion wellness center and indoor swimming pool. Requested that this be placed on the agenda. As many of you know, there has been discussion actually over the last several years regarding a possible partnership with Dakota Wesleyan, Queen of Peace, and the city regarding wellness. And those discussions kind of fell by the wayside over the last couple of years and have been revived in the last few months. And in doing so, we have held several meetings with those other two entities as well as the city to discuss the future of wellness for our city of Mitchell. As I'm sure all of you know, Dakota Wesleyan has made an announcement that they plan to go ahead with a wellness center located south of Norway Street in between Norway and the interstate. And their intention is to break ground on that facility in the fall of this year. In the discussions that we've held, we have tried to address the needs for wellness for the community. And Dakota Wesleyan has graciously invited the city to participate in that, as well as Queen of Peace. And at this point, we are still in the discussion phase of the project, but given the proposed plan that Dakota Wesleyan has in place, which will be about 90,000 square feet of space, which will include a 200-meter indoor track. And we think that with that kind of space and the amenities that will be provided, which will include a very large room for apparatus such as treadmills and those type of machines that you use in your fitness programs. And as I've said, we've had some discussions in the past, and some of those included estimates of cost should the city decide on their own to undertake either renovation of our existing recreation facility on North Main, and that estimate came in at about $12 million, and that included an indoor swimming pool. And there was also a discussion as if we were not to renovate the existing facility, that possibly we should consider building a new one. And that estimate came in at about $20 million. So as you can see, those facilities are quite expensive. And given the financial condition of the city, which is not certainly in dire straits, but we would not have the capacity on our own to undertake either the renovation and the indoor pool at a cost of $12 million, or certainly to build a new one. Now, Dakota Wesleyan is funding in its entirety the wellness center and inviting the city to allow usage of that facility. Certainly there are different things that we need to iron out, membership and those types of things. But given what is being proposed, we think that this is an opportunity for the three entities to work together to provide an outstanding wellness facility, not just for Dakota Wesleyan, not just for Queen of Peace, or not just for membership of the current City Rec Center. If all three of us work together, we think that we can provide programs and opportunities that currently do not exist. And we think that this in itself is something that we should strongly consider. Now, what is, you might ask, what's the future for our existing rec center? And that is something that we will continue to maintain and maybe change the role somewhat. Currently, it's memberships for all ages, and the proposed future use of it would be probably more in line with family activities and youth activities. They currently have a very active and large enrollment in after-school programs, which we want to continue and enhance. And there still will be facilities for adults to work out, but more on a limited basis. But if you want to bring the kids to the center, you can maybe have them involved in other areas and activities, and then maybe mom and dad can work out on apparatus, which will still be available. So all in all, we think that that this portion of the proposal is one that we should strongly consider. And then there's another very important aspect of this proposal, and that is for an indoor swimming pool. And the plan as being proposed and discussed would include an indoor swimming pool of an Olympic size, and it would be built adjacent to the Dakota Wesleyan Wellness Center. And we think that this is an opportunity that we can move forward with an indoor aquatic center now sooner rather than later. And with some quite strong urging from the aquatic club, they have been very adamant and vocal in their support for this, and to that end, they are willing to provide a significant contribution monetarily towards that end. And first of all, I think I'm going to include my remarks. I see that Amy Novak is here, president of Dakota Wesleyan University. If you wish to make any comments regarding your facility and how we might work together, I certainly welcome anything that you would have to say in that regard.
Well, as I discussed, I think probably about 6 months ago, Dakota Wesleyan continues to move forward with this. We're excited about the possibility of partnering both with the Avera Queen of Peace and with the city, and we feel like the three entities together can really make an impact for the residents of Mitchell, as well as the students and others who would use it. This would be primarily geared at those individuals who are 16 and older, and as Ken mentioned, it includes the 200-meter indoor track, which we would open up to public use. There are 4 multi-sport courts that could be utilized for 3-on-3 tournaments, basketball, indoor soccer. We have capacity to do baseball and softball, golf in there, as well as wrestling. So we really think it'll be a nice addition to the campus, as well as opening that up to the larger community. We see ourselves as a university of this community. The community has long been supportive of Dakota Wesleyan, and this partnership, I think, only serves to solidify that relationship. Finally, I would add, within the facility, we've allocated specific space for wellness and for fitness, weightlifting, aerobic equipment, classrooms, et cetera. Those are the types of things that we think will only serve to improve the overall health and well-being of our overall community. Those of you also know Dakota Wesleyan's been very fortunate to have a strong partnership with Avera in the past with our nursing program, in our athletic training area, and our sports, exercise, and wellness area. With their new facility going on the other side of the interstate, we see this as a strong wellness corridor, and it really makes a statement for the Mitchell community. And we would welcome the aquatic club and the discussion of the pool going next to that facility. We think it would only enhance both the economic impact that potential events could have in Mitchell, but also it just together the entire facility would really be a wonderful point for which Mitchell residents could consider their health and wellness as they go forward. So, questions? Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next, I think I will invite Ryan Huber to come forward as a spokesman for the Aquatic Club and maybe explain what role the Aquatic Club will play and maybe pay is right.
Well, first of all, I'd like to thank Ken and Amy. You pretty much said everything that I intended to say this evening between the two of you, but because I spent an hour at work today typing this up, I'm going to go through it if you don't mind. Quite certainly by now all of you know me, but for the record, I'm Ryan Huber. I'm a local businessman and the current president of the Mitchell Aquatic Club. In 2009, Dr. Graves and the Mitchell Board of Education made the decision to close the middle school indoor pool. And even though they felt they had good financial rationale to do so, it put the Mitchell Aquatic Club in jeopardy. But more importantly, their decision compromised the health and wellness of every Mitchell citizen. As you all know, our nation suffers from a wide range of medical issues, including obesity, juvenile diabetes, and the proper lack of nutrition, just to name a few. And I'm sure all of you have read the studies, and I'm quite certain from your own experiences you have found there are very few, if any, exercises that compare with swimming. Not to be overlooked in these medical issues is safety. Do you remember back in 2010 when somebody was drowning in a flood and a young man risked his own life to save this potential victim? Guess what? That was a Mitchell Aquatic Club swimmer by the name of Reed Detterman. His swimming skills learned early in life and then enhanced from swimming competitively gave him the opportunity to save this person's life. Every student in Mitchell benefited from having basic water safety while attending the middle school. That critical PE class is now gone forever. And then additionally, lifeguard training always took place in the Mitchell Middle School pool, and now that training is taking place in the rec center pool. And even though the size of the pool allows for training, it's a very small pool, and it shuts it down for 2 weekends every year, so Mitchell citizens cannot use it. So my question to all of you is this: where do we fill in the gaps? As you all know, and it's been well documented and discussed this evening, Dakota Wesleyan is breaking ground on this fall on a new health and wellness complex. President Novak and her board of trustees recognize the glaring need not only for their students but also for our community. Amy has been very gracious in inviting others to join this exciting project. Vera Queen of Peace has also made a commitment to partner with DW. Right now, tonight, on July 21st, 2014, is the greatest opportunity for those of you sitting around this table to make a multi-generational decision and also join this partnership. Quality of life means so much to everyone. It is virtually the #1 reason why all of us decide to live in Mitchell, South Dakota. However, we are missing the boat in one key component of quality of life, an indoor swimming pool. If you ask the chamber folks about events coming to town, or if you ask the Development Corp about businesses coming to town, many discussions revolve around an indoor pool. Even in my business, when I am potentially hiring someone from out of town, we go through the checklist of things to do for my employees and their children. Baseball fields, check. Tennis courts, check. Outdoor pool, check. Soccer fields, check. Bike paths, check. Indoor swimming pool, I'm not kidding when I tell you I have lost a potential good hire due to our quality of life in Mitchell lacking an indoor pool. I know some of you may be wondering what is the status of the Mitchell Aquatic Club after the unfortunate events of 2009. I'm proud to stand in front of you this evening and say that MAC is overcoming the blatant obstacle of not having a place to call home. In the past 12 months, we have had 65 kids on our team and another 198 kids in our Swim America program. For those of you that may not know, Swim America is a program that's designed to introduce both water safety and swimming lessons into one program. Pardon the pun, but it's our wading pool of future MAC swimmers. I knew you'd like that, Mel. And you ask, what is preventing our team from being bigger? Quite frankly, the size of our temporary facility we have cannot handle any more kids. MAC swimmers are swimming all over the country, as many of them have earned spots to compete in very large swim meets from the East Coast to the West Coast. We've had 16 alumni swimming in college in the past 10 years. 14 are Division I. I'm pretty sure a lot of other sports in Mitchell cannot claim 14 out of their 16 collegiate athletes are competing at Division I. On the team today, we have had several other swimmers on a fast track to swimming scholarships themselves. Finally, in case you didn't know, we currently have the best female swimmer potentially in the history of the state of South Dakota in Tevin Waddell. If you had, she deserves a round of applause. If you have not seen her swim, you should. It is truly amazing. She breaks South Dakota records all the time, and frankly, most of the time it's her own record that she's breaking again. I think it's safe to say our program is second to none in quality. We are just limited by the size of our home. As a side note, this coming weekend we are hosting the State of South Dakota State Long Course Championships at Hitchcock Park. Please be our guest and come and watch some of the Mitchell and South Dakota's finest competing at a very high level. It's Friday, Saturday, Sunday. I'd hope that all of you can make time in your calendar to come watch. What am I asking of you tonight? Simply put, I'm asking you to join the partnership between DW and Avera and help the citizens of Mitchell build an indoor pool now and not wait 2 years or even 5 years. MAC and our temporary pool that we have on North Main Street, quite frankly, will not last that long. The financial benefit is obvious. An indoor pool will allow MAC to host winter meets in Mitchell. Currently, we host 2 meets in Sioux Falls each winter. Do you realize each meet we host an average of 300 plus swimmers? And this weekend, I just got the numbers tonight, we have 448 swimming in the state meet. But on average, our meets host 300 swimmers. 300 swimmers means as much as 900 visitors to a community. Almost all meets are over an entire weekend, so you get 3 days of those people. Based on South Dakota tourism and the Mitchell CVB, conservative figures show that these visitors spend roughly $190 per visitor per day. Rough math shows that approximately $170,000 per day is going to the Sioux Falls businesses versus the tax-paying businesses in Mitchell. Please keep in mind this revenue will go a long way during the slow months of December through March when we host our indoor meets. There is also obvious financial benefit in construction savings when you leverage the work DW is already going to be doing and starting the entire project at one time. All of this can be done without raising taxes or restricting the city's budget any further. The city should participate in this partnership via a lease purchase. You could use some of the unallocated funds currently sitting on your balance sheet. You have bond payments rolling off very soon. And I think we can work with some of our partners in the hospitality business to potentially help with cash flow. If memory serves me correct, around the time the middle school pool was closed, Focus 2020 very distinctly recommended that we build a new indoor pool. At that time, the Mitchell Aquatic Club came to the city council for help. Do you remember what you said? You said the response of you said at that time, right now is not right, but we'll try to get something done in the next 3 to 5 years. Guess what? It's been 5 years. The Mitchell Aquatic Club is aware of some of the other projects the city has funded over the past couple of years, and we know we need to put some skin in the game. The MAC Board of Directors quietly kicked off a capital campaign last month as we prepared for this ask. I think it's fair for MAC to kick in $1 million. We are prepared to do that. I will commit to you tonight that we will pay $200,000 per year for the next 5 years to fulfill my pledge to you of $1 million. Quite frankly, in the past month, without a lot of work, we have already received commitments from benevolent, community-minded businesses and individuals in excess of $250,000. It is very evident the citizens of Mitchell want an indoor pool now. Folks, my hat's in my hand. I need your help. This is truly our last chance to get this done for the citizens of Mitchell. The finances are right, DW and Avera's timing is right, and I know you will make the right decision. I'd be more than happy to answer any questions you have. Thank you.
Thank you, Ryan. I will just expound a little bit more on the financing. We have some preliminary estimates of cost for the indoor pool of $6 million. The council has set aside the last 2 years $250,000 per year as a capital fund, and that amounted $500,000. And we also have a pledge payment from the Mitchell Area Development Corporation of $500,000 that we loaned to them a few years ago to build the verifications building that is coming due and payable. So we think that we can make a down payment of $1 million and reducing the balance to $5 million, and through a lease purchase, we would have the financing for $5 million at 5% interest. Comes to a debt service payment of $500,000 a year. For the first 5 years, the city would, through its general fund and sales tax revenues, be able to make a debt service payment of $300,000 a year. And as Ryan has pointed out, with the contribution from the aquatic club of $200,000 per year, that would make up then the $500,000 payment for the first 5 years of the debt service on the pool. After 5 years is up, our BY Water pipeline will have been paid, and our debt service on that is roughly $700,000 per year. So after the 5 years is up, BY Water will be paid, and then we will have funds from that obligation to BY Water that would be freed up, and we can apply a portion of that to pay for the $200,000 a year, which the aquatic club will no longer be required to pay. So that is the plan that we have in place to fund it. It does not affect our bonding capacity, and we think that it's a very workable plan, and one that considers serious consideration from the council as well as the community. As I said earlier, you know, we've been talking about wellness and the swimming pool for quite a number of years, and I think the timing is right, and we have the funding in place, and I think it's the time that we certainly discuss and debate what the plan should be, and if we agree that this is a proposal that is worthy of moving forward on, that we get behind it. As I said earlier, Dakota Wesleyan plans to start construction on their facility this fall, I think in September, to break ground. And if it's a rather fast track that we're on, but one that I think that we could meet. And if we are able to start construction of the pool along with their construction, I think that there's significant savings to be made in being able to do that. So we welcome public input and response, reaction. Get a hold of your council representatives. Let us know what your thoughts are, and but the plan is to move forward. And so thanks everyone tonight for coming, and thanks to Amy and Ryan for your comments. And I guess we'll open it up for questions if anyone has them. We'll try to answer if there are.
Come forward and talk into the microphone if you have something.
Hi, my name is Sue Bennett, and I have known Mitchell Aquatic Kids and the horror of what they suffered when their pool was closed, and then the facility that they had to work out in, and getting those kids up in the morning and getting them swimming. But I also know that the pool that we have at the rec center now serves a whole different class of people. You've got little kids in there taking swimming lessons. You've got several senior and regular aquatic classes every day. You have someone coming in there to swim. Now, what I do can't be done with these kids. I'd be in their way. What they need is not what I need. And to just close the pool at the rec and go in a completely different direction, you've got a whole set of people here in Mitchell that would be affected by that. And when you go to make your decisions on the rec, I'd like you to consider us. We're small in number, but we're mighty in our exercise workout. And I'd just like you to consider that. Come down to the rec. Take a swim class. Watch those little kids learning to swim. They're Mitchell Aquatic kids in the future. They're just 4. So come down, look at the rec, look at the pool before you just decide we don't need that anymore. Because it's a facility that's used every day by a lot of people. And I'd hope you'd consider that before you make your decision. Thank you.
Yeah, I guess I just have a couple of comments. First of all, I don't think anybody's talking about closing the rec center, and I guess that's
Just
what
the pool. I'm asking that you would come down and look at the pool before you make your decisions in the direction of the rec. That's all I'm asking.
I don't think we're talking about closing the pool at the rec either.
Good. That's what I wanted to hear.
Talking about building another pool. When this was proposed before, partnership between the city and Avera and Dakota Wesleyan, of course, Amy Pitts was not the president. And basically, Wesleyan wasn't putting any money in to that. They were giving the land or the operation or whatever. And people in town were opposed to that partnership for basically 2 reasons. One was Wesleyan basically had no skin in the game at that time, and that it was located on their campus. And that objection is going to remain, that the facility is located on their campus. I was in the Mitchell School District when we partnered with Dakota Wesleyan with L.B. Williams, and there was sort of a gentleman's agreement between Jim Beto, who was the president then, and John Christensen, who was the superintendent. And then later on, when those 2 gentlemen left for other jobs, there were misunderstandings over that building. And so I'm not opposed to this idea, but I do think we need to be very clear before we go in. It's not just building the thing. Who pays for the chemicals to clean it? Who runs the main desk? Who pays for the electricity? Who does the snow removal? Who does the mowing and those kinds of things? And so I think this is a great opportunity, and to have $1 million pledged is fantastic. And our practice in the past has been when people have come with money, we've done whatever. But it's more than just building the thing. I'm sure if we build it, they will come. But it's also having a very clear contract, I'll call it, over who's using what when. In Brookings, they do this. The college built a wellness center. The city participates. But there's a very clear contract. And in that contract, it says, for example, nobody uses that facility other than SDSU between 3 o'clock in the afternoon and 6 o'clock in the evening. It's their facility for their athletics. So I think, in fairness to Wesleyan, I don't think we should expect them to build a wellness center and then pay for all the electricity and staff the thing and do everything else while we, dip our toes in the pool there in February. So I think Ken's going to be gone at some point. Amy's going to be gone at some point. You'll probably outlast Ken. But they're going to be gone. And then we're not going to have any sort of understanding about who was doing what, when, whatever. So again, I'm not trying to rain on anybody's parade, but it's more than just financing the building and putting it up. And I do think that Ryan mentioned some very compelling figures about hosting the events. It's not going to pay for the pool, but it's like the hockey. it's going to bring money in. The last speaker made some good points. I just want to be clear for those people listening. We are not building this pool if we build it. We're not building this pool for the aquatic team. We're building the pool for the city of Mitchell, recognizing that it needs to be a certain size, this, that, and the other thing, so that the aquatic team can participate and they can bring that money in. But at coffee shops all around town tomorrow, it's going to be, God, remember what Jack Ewing said about the Dakota's Discovery Museum, and that didn't work out very well. Remember what Jim Bennell said about L.B. Williams, and we had that kerfuffle. We're building a $6 million pool for 65 kids, and that is not what is going on. So, I guess personally, I'm in favor of this, assuming that we can work out the details, and I just want people listening at home to recognize, we recognize, details need to be worked out.
Can I just make a couple of comments? Mel, I appreciate your comments. A couple of things that I want to clarify for you. The previous proposals that you were in on several years ago, 5, 10, 15, however far we want to go back, all included it on the Dakota Wesleyan property near the current Christian Athletic Center. The facility we're talking about now is being moved across the street, which is across the street from L.B. Williams Elementary School. And the decision of Dakota Wesleyan to place it over there is partly due to the fact that we know that some of the community members don't necessarily want to be bench pressing next to football players. Right. Okay, I don't. So, but that being said, we are going to use our current Christian Athletic Center for athletic weight room, athletic weight space, and we feel that moving across the street makes it more conducive for the community, which is a different location than what had been previously discussed. Secondly, what Dakota Wesleyan is coming and asking the city about is not to run the pool, own the pool, anything with the pool. We'd like to lease you the land at a very good figure, okay? Those details to be worked out. But we don't intend, nor do we have a swim team or any aspirations to have a swim team. So our vision is that this is something that would be city-run and operated, okay? That can be placed on or near the current wellness center to simply gain the benefit of the two facilities working together, okay? People come to do fitness, maybe your spouse wants to swim, well, you want to work out in the gym. Those options would be available to you. But I just want for the public out there to be very clear, DW is not intending to run, operate, put chemicals in, maintain. That would be the city's responsibility.
And perhaps I misspoke there, but the point goes to the wellness center, because we, the citizens of Mitchell, will be using the wellness center. And I don't think it would be fair to say to you as Wesleyan or the hospital or whatever, we'll use it, but you staff it and you pay for the electricity. I think we need to be...
Sure. And we've come to the city, and we will be coming to the city with a proposal requesting a certain sum of money to support that in exchange for
I'm glad to hear about
services.
Some of the discussions that we have held, they are at a preliminary state at this point, but we recognize, as you pointed out, that they are going to have an expense to maintain and operate the wellness center and offering it for use to the general public at Mitchell, and certainly we feel that we have an obligation to help support that. And that's going to be through memberships. And we haven't figured out any percentages or anything of that sort, but we recognize that whatever membership fees that are generated from this, and they will be joint membership fees that you will be allowed to go to the current rec center that we have, as well as a new rec center facility at the wellness center at Dakota Wesleyan. So I don't want to, I guess, belabor all of the fine details, but we're certainly aware of that. We're also aware of ongoing expenses to operate an indoor swimming pool. They are significant. And what we have addressed tonight is, as you pointed out, the construction. Well, we also are addressing that issue. Not prepared tonight to go into all of the details of every part of this, but those are things that we think that we have looked at and have a plan to address them.
Yeah, I'm very happy to hear that we're not going to be lifting next to athletes. My wife, who's a black belt, probably wouldn't mind, but you know, that's one of the complaints that you hear from Madison,
Sure.
you hear from Brookings, and
But you could go to our local rec center, which I use periodically, and there are people who are power lifters who periodically go down there. That's not to say that we might not have off-season athletes who will be using that. But I think we're going to see a very open center that is going to encourage people of all ability types to be simply working on their health. And what better thing for the community of Mitchell?
yeah, and I mention these things because I think it's important, not that we have every detail worked out, but that people listening and who are going to read the newspaper report recognize that, you know, it's not just building the pool and saying
Sure.
we're in. There are other things that have to be taken care of.
I think 20 years ago, I was on that side trying to convince the city to build an ice arena. So I know what you're going through. And $1 million is a big, big contribution, and that's a lot of skin in the game. And I think swimmers, from what I understand, are just as crazy as a hockey game. So if they say they'll do it, they'll do it.
Any other questions, comments?
First of all, Tara Valesky, I just want all the swimmers to know that I'm 100% behind a pool for you. But I'm a little nervous if this is going to be for the city, this, as far as Dakota Wesleyan Wellness Center. I looked at the plans. Now, when I ran for mayor, I looked at all kinds of wellness centers throughout the nation. And to me, I mean, I'm all for it, but I feel the wellness center is more like a field house. It isn't senior friendly and kid friendly. I went to a college where we had a field house. We had all these courts in the middle and a track around the outside. And even as a student, when I'd want to go over and maybe shoot baskets, these kids would be coming around the track. And I mean, I almost got nailed a couple times. But I'm concerned about the seniors of this town. And what they're doing now, building wellness centers, they have different tiers. Like South Dakota State is 3-tiered, so you have a certain area, maybe kids on one area, adults, seniors upstairs walking around the track. And same with the University of South Dakota. In fact, their wellness center was named top rec center in the nation. So I don't know. And as far as the cost, it will be, I mean, can we afford 2 centers? Because, I mean, if you're going to build a pool, I know Madison did it. They have an area for kids and then an area for adults. But I didn't really get a chance to look at the pool. I mean, I just read the paper today and I was, wow, okay. But I'm nervous for the rest of the community. If we're going to pay that kind of money, maybe it should be a little more community friendly and senior friendly. And as far as the wellness center or the rec center up north side of town, I think it's going to, I don't know, we better check into the costs because people can't afford to be paying fees, you know, for baseball, golf, hockey, swimming, rec. I mean, it can break a family. So, but yeah, I'm for a pool. Absolutely. I think it's well overdue. So, but I'm a little nervous of the plans. I really am. Okay, thank you.
Anyone else?
For those of you that don't know me, I'm Lori Bork, but I was here in 2009 when the pool closed and addressed the council. And one thing I'd like to really ask the council to consider when they're looking at this plan is let's build this for 50 years. Too often what happens with these kinds of things is we build it and we look at it and we go, wow, that looks really nice. And then in 2, 3, 5, 10 years, all of a sudden we've outgrown our seat. And so, and you can, and in response to senior citizens and all that, there's a lot of different kinds of pools. I've been in numerous places with my children swimming. So make sure that when you're looking at plans, designs, all those kinds of things, that you consider everyone, that you make it 10 lanes. Don't go with 8. You're going to need 10. you're going to need a zero entry so that people that have disabilities or whatever can get into the pool easy. Think about how you build it. That's all I have to say.
John Clark, and I'm a taxpayer citizen. So you got to love Mac's enthusiasm and support. And I think a community of our size, being a first-class community, needs a first-class pool facility. So I'd be in favor of it. And I think it'd be a wonderful thing for our community and recruiting industry or people to come live here. And the cooperation between, that we're talking about between Avera and Dakota Wesleyan and the city, I think a city, we need to cooperate between our different institutions so we can have the best that we can afford in different areas. And I think it'd be a wonderful thing. So, and I am a member of the athletic facility of the city too. So I have some interest. So thank you.
Mayor Tracy, we talked about what DWU is doing and what the city's doing. What is Avera kicking in? I guess I missed that part. I don't understand.
Well, at this point, we have included Avera in all of our discussions. They are very interested in participating in more the wellness center portion of the, rather than the pool. They are not prepared at this time to make any formal announcement. I think that they are reserving that until maybe at the time that there's a groundbreaking ceremony and so on. But they are very much interested and, as I said, have participated in all of the discussions.
But not in the pool.
Not in the pool.
Okay, thank you.
Yes. Blake?
Hi, Blake Waddell. A couple of pieces. I've been in Ryan's hat as far as the board too. I'm also currently I actually sit on the board for South Dakota Swimming as the general chair there. But one of the things I just wanted to add to not only those 3-day meets twice a year for what Mitchell hosts in Sioux Falls currently is if a pool is built the right way and the additional piece of this whole wellness, because of Tevin's successes, we've had the opportunity to go to several different meets and things regionally and nationally and whatnot. But if this pool is built the right way, which is what the discussion is, South Dakota Swimming is very much trying to gain regional meet access at the national level. And when you start talking those, you're not talking 300-400, you're talking 8,000-9,000 swimmers coming to these type of meets, which are bid at different levels. So the economic impact potential for the city of Mitchell could be potentially there. It wouldn't be an annual thing, but it's something that if we were able to get some of those type of things in, could have a major impact on the city of Mitchell from that avenue. So I just wanted to kind of make that note for that purpose.
Are there plans to include people who know about swimming I mean, all I know about swimming is there's water and there's a hole. That's all I know. So talks about zero entry and lanes, and that's Greek to me. Are we going to have somebody who knows something in on this?
Oh, I'm sure that those issues will be addressed. We have certainly at this point not gotten that far. I think those amenities, if that's what you want to call them, are open. As to what the specific cost of various things, we haven't gone that far. We've gotten a rough estimate of cost at this point of the $6 million, and what all that might include, I can't read that specific tonight about that.
Let me ask you to look in your crystal ball one more time. What role do you see the new sports authority having with the pool?
Well, as Blake has just pointed out, we think that the benefits derived from having the indoor swimming pool are significant. Even with just the 2 events that they host during the winter months, brings several hundred people to town, and it's a 2-3-day event. And so there's a lot of overnight stays, and the Sports and Event Authority recognizes that, and I think are going to be very supportive of
an indoor pool. And as with other events that the Sports and Events Authority has backed, I'm sure that they will be behind and support monetarily if needed the swimming events that are being proposed once the pool is in place. So they will have an active role as far as recruiting and securing as many indoor events that we can have.
Ken, I was going to make a couple comments. The first one is, as Mel pointed out, the location probably is going to be an issue that we need to talk through, and some of the benefits and assets that I see with partnering with Avera and Dakota Wesleyan is the fact that we have in this town, we've got our biggest economic problem right now is that we do not have any workers. And part of what we're trying to do as a community is to make sure that the quality of life is comparable, or if not better, than any other town our size, or even looking at Sioux Falls. And so when partnering with Dakota Wesleyan, when kids go to college, they have a tendency to stay in the area where they graduate from college, even kids that come from out of state. And I know Teresa and Amy are here, and that's the honest to God truth. We've got to entice families to becoming residents of Mitchell. We need both white and blue-collar workers, and Dakota Wesleyan is our incubator for having the future employees that we need in this community. Right now, Ken and I sit on the Industrial Development Board, and to be quite honest with you, that the role and the mission of the Industrial Development Board is not to recruit companies. It's recruiting employees. And it's a major issue. And we could really set Mitchell apart if we proceed and try to follow through with this project. And Dakota Wesleyan is such an asset to this community. And for us to possibly place it where Amy is indicating, there's going to be good public access. You can see Dakota Wesleyan's very nice campus from the interstate. You'll be able to see it very well from the new wellness center and proposed pool. And so that's another asset, because what is there, 3 million cars that travel down Interstate 90 in a day, and talk about having the most successful billboard is to show how nice and our community is, and the pride that we take in our community. So I think the location is a perfect fit, and access, like I said, is going to be very good. Visibility will be very good. And I was in on those discussions too, Lori, when we said, and Ryan, the 3 to 5 years, and the council was committed. And we know that there's an issue. We know there's a problem. We know that MAC cannot continue as an association without a facility someday. And so I truly believe the time has come. The last time that we filled this room like this, I believe, was 7 or 8 years ago, when we had this many soccer kids in here. And for you kids to take the time to come out and listen to us boring adults, appreciate that, because this will be a facility that you would be able to enjoy. And we know that projects of this size don't come easy. And you heard of a lot of tough questions tonight, and hopefully we're going to be able to work through it. But I firmly believe that now is the time to move forward on this project.
The quote of the night came from John Clark. And John, I'm going to steal this in like 3 or 4 months when nobody remembers you've said it anymore. But the quote was, "The best we can afford." And the best we can afford is more with Wesleyan and Avera than it is on our own. And it's a whole heck of a lot sooner than we can afford on our own. Details need to be worked out, but this is a great opportunity.
Anyone else? If not, thanks all of you for coming. Moving on, next, we'll just wait a second here for.
Oh, really? Yeah, I'll go.
Okay, moving on, next, resolution number 3203, a plat of lot C-1 in the north 340 feet of lot C in Jones Addition in the southeast 1/4 of section 20, township 103 north, range 60 west of the 5th PM, city of Mitchell.
Mayor and council, if I could direct your attention again to the planning commission minutes, you would see that they did recommend approval of this plat, and I believe there's a copy of that plat in your packet as well. Basically what this is my understanding is that Santel Communications or a company affiliated with them wants to put a tower type building in that area, and so that's what they're doing is plat that out. And they recommend approval of it.
A power bill.
Well, like a transmission tower.
Oh, tower. I thought you said power.
So. And you could see where they have identified access. That was one of the issues that the planning commission had, because kind of out in the middle of there, you have to have an access of some sort.
Is this going to do anything, I mean, I don't have any difficulty necessarily, but is this going to do anything? You hear every once in a while, one of these things go up and then people don't get television anymore.
I don't know. Didn't come up, I guess.
Maybe that's not an issue with cable lines.
Oh, here, I'll let somebody talk.
I'm Mark Wilson with Santel Communications. We operate at a fixed wireless spectrum. We register with the FCC, and we're already operating in Mitchell and the surrounding areas today, have been for well over 10 years, so don't expect any changes there.
Why do you guys need this town?
We've grown customer base wise, and today we currently are renting from another tower company here in town, and have basically outgrown our space on that location.
That's similar to the one that's in the backyard.
It will be a little bit taller than that one, but it will be similar in structure.
How tall?
We haven't confirmed that yet, but up to 200 feet.
Tell me again where this is.
In Jones Edition, it's kind of by Mitchell Manufacturing, graphic packaging in that area.
Move to approve.
Second.
Motion second to approve resolution 3203. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Resolution 3204, a plat of lot 11 in the replat of tract E Wild Oak Golf Club addition to the city of Mitchell.
This is basically a plat of for a prospective home being constructed out in the Wild Oak development. It does comply with the master plan that they have submitted and has gone through the planning commission, and they have recommended approval.
Move to place ordinance 2479 on second reading.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Oh, sorry. I've already scratched it off my list of things that we've done.
Did you jump to the next one?
Yeah, I'm ready to go.
You want to move to approve?
Sure, I'll approve 3204. Yeah.
Motion second to approve resolution 3204. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carried. Second reading adoption of ordinance 2479, an ordinance of the city of Mitchell, South Dakota, rezoning the real property legally described as Lot 8, Block 44 of Cooley, Guernsey Edition, City of Mitchell.
Now I'll put it on second reading.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to place ordinance 2479 on second reading. Any further discussion?
This is that one on the Burr and Ash that you were familiar with last time.
You know, I've had several calls.
I've had a lot of calls. This is my new number one. For people calling.
I'll let you go ahead then.
In favor?
The residents are not in favor of this.
Dan Schneider. I live in 211 South Capitol. I also own 213 South Capitol on both sides of that alley, on the east end of the alley that property adjoins. I'm not against doing something with that lot, but I'm really concerned about traffic down our alley. We've got young kids there. My rental property, the tenants have young children. If you would come down Ash Street and try to go north across Burr, try and make a turn across to go south there once. You can't see. I'm afraid everybody's going to come down my alley, which, with all the small children and stuff, it seems like there's going to be a lot more traffic than we've already got too much now coming through that it doesn't live in that neighborhood. And I just wanted to make sure you guys are aware of what goes on there. And as you can see now, there's a sign sitting up there on that corner right now. You cannot see in the north if you drive a small car. And if they're not going to knock that down or do anything, I'm just concerned about how people are going to get in and out of there all the time for the business.
Terry, can you go to that alley?
Let me drive over there.
Wrong.
Yeah, sorry.
Right there.
And there's certain times of day the traffic is horrible right in here.
When I come back from lunch at noon, sometimes it's 10 minutes to get across the street. Now, if I was in that parking lot, what direction am I going to go? You know, trying to get across the street, or are you going to go down the alley and head out some other direction?
One thing that we discussed 2 weeks ago is a cutout that would be close to the alley, but not be in the alley. And I guess it was just for discussion purposes, but I don't think we did follow up on anything like that.
So can I get my bearings? The lot that we're talking about is on the left, to our left.
No, you're right.
No, it's on your right.
Where that, with the house is just.
Right, the house is no
The house
longer
is
there,
okay.
and the garage will
I
come
drove
down.
by it this week, but that is not what I.
half
Yeah.
east and south of First?
It's half a block.
Right.
Oh, wait, no, it's block and a half.
Block and a half,
Right.
Yeah.
Well, again, if you'll remember from last week, that was an apartment, and it was a multifamily apartment, so you had more than one family living there, more than one car there. The business that's going in there is anticipating that they'll have no more than 5 to 10 customers a day. It's just the showroom. And the bulk of his business, and Susan, you'll understand this, is done in the customer's house because he goes out and measures windows. So and his hours will be from 9 to 5, and he won't be open weekends.
I'm surprised, I personally haven't received any calls on this, and maybe it's because the people aren't there calling you guys. But when my husband and I drove by there, and we thought, man, you know, that viable options for utility. And to us, it appeared that this would be, if there was a business, a small showroom that wanted to go there, and that seemed like a really nice thing to put there. So I'm surprised to hear that there was.
Well, change for anybody is difficult, but change happens. And that lot has been for sale for well over a year, and there's absolutely no interest in it whatsoever for residential, none. So it can sit empty with a big sign that says dirt for sale, or the city can do something and the rezone and let this showroom go in. Because again, it's probably the right business if there's going to go a business on that lot. Minimum traffic, and so it should, hopefully it would be a good fit for that corner.
How did he come up with the numbers again?
Yeah. And he would be here, Ben would be here tonight, but Ben has a family illness, and he's out of state with a relative that is having some medical problems. Based on what he is now, he has a manufacturing plant downtown. And so based on his current business of people who actually come in to see a product, it's 5 at the most on a good day. Some days it might be 2 or 3, because his main business is someone calls him, and he goes out and measures up and brings the product out to show them. If they say, well, what does it look like built? Then now they're going downtown to his warehouse. This will just be his showroom, so they can stop in and see what a window looks like.
I've used the window shop, and they're a great business, and they've got a great product. I think the issue is the layout of the thing. How come people can't turn onto Ash and then turn in that way and situate the building a little differently and alleviate the concerns of the alley?
I think the layout of the landscaping, the grade difference from the road to the alley is extremely steep.
Well, I suspect, if traffic becomes an issue, that doesn't mean that there can't be some steps taken to alleviate that. Hopefully it won't be an issue.
See that wall there, Mel?
Yeah.
You can't see around that in the car.
True. You have to cross the sidewalk.
The house is gone, it burned down on fire.
That's why they want a business there.
Well, I know I've watched cars going south, trying to turn onto that. It's busy.
Well, we haven't voted to put it on second reading. I was the only one against this last time. I'd just like to point that out.
Sorry, I wasn't there.
Yeah, Randy was.
You were ahead of the game.
Well, I'll go ahead and move to place it on second.
Well,
reading.
we have a motion and a second, but we just haven't voted whether to do it.
Second reading. If there's no further discussion, move on.
There is a dilemma.
Roll call, no, well, we'll just have a voice vote on second reading. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
Now we have to adopt or not adopt.
Right.
Move to adopt.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to adopt ordinance 2479. Roll call vote, please.
Olsted,
No.
Rice,
Yes.
Ronis,
No.
Dosher,
No.
Darrington,
Aye.
Allen, Sharks,
Aye.
Smith,
Aye.
4-3.
Motion carried. Ordinance 2479 is adopted. Second reading and adoption of ordinance 2480, an ordinance of the city of Mitchell, South Carolina, rezoning the real property legally described as Lot 8B and 8C, less Lot H1 of Lot 8C, Block 8 in Morning View Addition, City of Mitchell.
Mayor Cat, oh, go ahead.
Block 7, less H1 in Morning View Addition, City of Mitchell. All right, now we go.
I'm sorry. With your permission, I'll talk to both of these. You may just remember, these are part of the rezoning process of the wellness center that we were just talking about. One of the properties is currently, if you recall, is owned by Dakota Wesleyan presently, and they are requesting that it be rezoned from its residential designation to its public lands, which would be consistent with the main campus. And then the other parcel is, a property is owned currently by the Meadamus. And again, that's the reason why, Mel, like you had mentioned, they haven't made that final transaction yet. So that's the reason they are the applicants. And theirs is, if your recollection is, they are rezoning their property from transportation warehouse and commercial to public lands. So that's why there's two separate issues, two separate owners, two separate zoning designations. So again, the Planning Commission did hold a hearing, not this last meeting, its last meeting prior, and has recommended approval of it. Representatives of Dakota Wesleyan are here for anybody who wasn't here, if there was any specific questions. But I think you kind of heard quite a bit about what their plans are.
Move to place ordinance 2480 on second reading.
Second.
Motion second to place ordinance 2480 on second reading. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Move to adopt.
Second.
Motion and a second to adopt ordinance 2480. Roll call vote, please.
Olson.
Aye.
Rice.
Aye.
Cronus.
Aye.
Gosher.
Aye.
Barrington.
Aye.
Allen. Charts.
Aye.
Smith.
Aye.
Ordinance 2480 is adopted. Second reading and adoption of ordinance 2481, an ordinance of the City of Mitchell, South Dakota, rezoning the real property in Morning View addition to the City of Mitchell.
Move to place ordinance 2481 on second reading.
Second.
Motion second to place ordinance 2481 second reading. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
Move to adopt.
Second.
Motion and second to adopt ordinance 2481. Roll call vote, please.
Olson.
Aye.
Rice.
Aye.
Cronus.
Aye.
Gosher.
Aye.
Barrington.
Aye.
Allen. Charts.
Aye.
Smith.
Aye.
Ordinance is adopted. Second reading adoption of ordinance 2482, an ordinance amending chapter 9.1 of the Mitchell City Code, adopting the 2012 edition of the International Fire Code, and making other amendments as necessary to reflect the adoption of said code.
Without wasting a whole lot of time, I'd request that that be continued until the next regular meeting.
Move to continue ordinance 2482 to the next regularly scheduled meeting.
Second.
Motion second to continue the ordinance 2482 to the next regularly scheduled meeting. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Second reading adoption of ordinance 2483, supplemental appropriations.
Move to put 2483 on second reading.
Second.
Motion second to place ordinance 2483 on second reading. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
Move to adopt.
Second.
Motion second to adopt ordinance 2483. Roll call vote.
Olson.
Aye.
Rice.
Aye.
Cronus.
Aye.
Gosher. Barrington.
Aye.
Allen. Charts.
Aye.
Rice. Or Smith.
Aye.
Excuse me.
Ordinance is adopted. First reading of ordinance 2484, an ordinance of the City of Mitchell, South Dakota, rezoning the real property legally described as the south 60 feet of lot 6, block 23, original edition, City of Mitchell.
Council members and mayors, if I could direct your attention to your planning commission packets. Let me see, I'm trying to find where it's at. It's on page 21 of your planning commission packets. So there's a map kind of showing what the situation is here. Again, the planning commission did hold a hearing on this request at their last regular meeting and have recommended approval. If again, going to page 21, you would see that there's a red dot right on the corner of Kimball and East Hanson. Some of you who are maybe familiar with that area, if you go just south of Vernite, the Coke plant is in that area. There's a house and a garage-type building that at one point was a commercial. It was like a fire, my understanding was like a fire extinguisher type operation.
Yeah.
Yes, and so that's my understanding is what that is. That property has since changed hands. We have an individual who is basically updating the house part of it. And really, I know John Hagan and myself kind of inspected the property, and he had talked about at one point converting that second building into residential. Well, they ran in, long story short, ran into a lot of code issues and so forth. So, but this person did have an opportunity to maybe renovate it and update it and make it more of a commercial use. Well, so then the Planning Commission kind of talking about how we best facilitate that, because and you probably saw in the minutes where we had their conversation was at. And so their conclusion was then just rezone that portion, a portion of it, that's the south 60 feet of that lot, and as a central business district. And as you can see, what's kind of around there is just the one block, half a block there that is R2. And that's part of it. Now, why are we only doing one part of the lot was, as some of you may be aware, is when a property is zoned commercial, but it's a residential, has residential on there, they have lots of financial issues, financial lending issues, because it's very difficult to receive a residential loan on a property that is zoned commercial. So it would probably be with that. So that's the rationale why only a portion of it. And so that's the recommendation, and they're recommending going to central business, which would facilitate, because there's no setbacks within the central business, and it's somewhat consistent with that area. And so that's the recommendation. And this is first reading. Obviously, you would have second next time around, but if there's something with that, we can readdress it to the Planning Commission.
So it's 60 feet back?
South 60 feet of that lot. It's 142 feet deep. And the reason they came with 60 was to try to encompass some spacing for if they were going to park. The building, I believe, was like 35 feet wide, something like that.
So I see that there was some trouble with reservations for parking for such a property.
Yeah. From my recollection, that's the Larsons who were there. They were just trying to make sure that they understood that there would be no parking on their property, so to speak. Unless, obviously, if there's an arrangement between the two, that's...
Did you attend the meeting, Randy, or were you gone? So did they come to some resolution? Did he come to the meeting?
Larson? No, no. This is the only thing we received from them. And so there's no inferred agreement. I'm just saying is if they would ever come to one, that's their own.
I'll move to place ordinance 2484 on first reading.
Second.
Have a motion and a second to place ordinance 2484 on first reading. Further discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? No. So voted. First reading ordinance 2485, rezoning the real property with Westwood First Edition and Pheasant Street from PWC Transportation Warehousing and Commercial District to R4 High Density Residential District.
Okay, if I could direct your attention on page 24 of your Planning Commission packet, there's a drawing that is depicting this property. This is requested from Mr. Macheski, and he's here. Yeah, he's here if you've got more questions. Just to get your bearings straight, where he is right now, the way the zoning reads up on that area, if you take that where it says Lot 9A, where it looks like at one point, looks like a street, anything west of there and going south is all R4. So it's approximately 600 feet to the south. What Mr. Macheski is requesting is those pieces that are farther past that 600-foot line and extending R4 down a little bit with the idea that for some other potential residential properties. So if you just basically take a strip along 23rd and there's a 600-foot strip along there that's all R4. What he's wishing to do is to extend that where you see those pieces past that 600 foot.
So this tract A?
That is already owned by the city. No, it's this line and this line. It has a huge legal description because it's so many feet by so many feet by so many feet. If basically it's where you see that, if you go to the lot 9A and 9, where you see the 150 with the arrows, anything south of that's where the 600 feet and draw that line across. That's the 600-foot line. So it's those two rectangles that are before that line is what he's wishing to rezone. These would basically be south of the Pentecostal church and those apartments.
And the reason, tell me again the reason for this?
I'll let Chuck's here. I'll let him explain it.
I'm Chuck Mashewski. Yeah, the reason for all the words and distances is what Neil said. The reason we're asking for the rezoning is we're in negotiations with someone that wants to use it for R4, which would be multiple family housing. There's room in the 600 feet, for instance, for a second apartment house. This is below that, 600 feet, that is zoned R4 now. To the east of this request would be some land that Roger Music and I own that has covenants on it that would remain commercial of some form. West of Pheasant Street is the city pond, that tract A, so that's all city. So again, this additional R4 would be a verbal agreement we have in negotiations that we can't go forward with unless it is R4.
Well, I have to tell you that I'm glad we're having this conversation because I remember when you came to us about the apartment buildings that were being built, and we had a discussion about traffic emptying out onto 23rd Street, and we had neighbors here that were concerned about the headlights going into their front windows, and the plan was that we approved that street would be built to go out and empty onto North Olman. And imagine my surprise when curb and gutter all went in and it was emptying out on 23rd Avenue. And I didn't know what to say. I couldn't believe that happened, and I wasn't sure what happened to that plan to empty out onto North Olman. So I guess that's done and water under the bridge. But my question would be, where are these people going to, are these also going to be emptying out onto 23rd Avenue, or are we going to have a plan to make a road that would go out onto?
I would say that the plan has not changed, and maybe Mr. Johnson wants to address it a little bit. I have a contract with the city on this subject to do that street. I want to do it as soon as we can. And so the good news is, I think the plan's going to take place. And it's never been different on my thinking other than to do that. And I'd like to do it as soon as we can. And I'm excited.
If that was
So on that specific thing, I think the good news is that the plan is going to get to take place, and we'll get to put Pheasant Street in and then empty out on Olman. But the request is the R4, and if not the request, it would be TWC, which it's been for the 15 years I've owned it, and it'll probably stay that way for quite a while. So I think we'll all get what we want, and my plan has never changed to do what you're asking about.
I think there was some discussion, and Chuck, help me if I'm a little off here, but there was some discussion that once the second apartment building gets built, that's when the road would get connected over to Olman.
That wasn't the plan that we approved, however.
No, in fairness, I think the discussion, as I recall, was that the road's going to get put into Olman.
Yeah, I remember the gentleman coming here and saying, I've got a plan that's going to make everybody so happy. And I called the Winandis, who were the ones that were specifically concerned about this, and I said, you're going to be really excited and really pleased when you see what they've come up with, what the plan is. And then I felt like I had egg on my face when the road went out and emptied right, not directly into their driveway like it had been. It had been shifted a little bit, but now it's pointing someone else's window.
No, I would repeat myself, that I think the good news is that the plan's going to get to take place. And I don't think that anything was said about, in my book, about the second apartment house, so you're right. But the plan will get to take place, and what I needed to do was, I think, remind the city of how we're going to do this, and I think we're in sort of agreement now.
This will actually be a budgeted item that you'll hear about in the next couple weeks. There is a contract that the city has with Chuck when we purchased Tract A. And that contract is that the city will be responsible for half of the roadway improvements that are all along Tract A. The road that was installed so far was all paid for by the TIF. After that section of the road got built, Chuck brought in the contract that we had, and where it states in there pretty clearly that the road along Tract A going all the way out to Omen will be paid for as part of a special assessment, where the city will be responsible for paying for the side that faces the city property, and then Chuck will be responsible for the side that faces his property. So I have budgeted items in there. I did not budget anything. Tract A is going to be a future large retention basin. I did not budget anything for that. We're thinking roughly that's probably going to be in the 200,000 range. And I did not budget anything for that just because I want to have the new public works director evaluate that. As of right now, I don't know if that is needed, but if we do build the road all the way across, that pond may need to be built. So there will be some discussion in August about this roadway issue.
I plan to come to your budget meeting too and finish this discussion, but I think it's all good news. And what we said and what you wanted and what your folks wanted, I think is on the fast track now.
Is that in your TIF? Is that what those terms are, Chuck?
What's that, Carl?
That you say your contract with the city to build that?
No,
road?
when to be brief, when we got.
If it's not, I'll get with it.
Well, when we got Tract A to the city, there was a contract made as part of the purchase price, and that's what I brought in.
Okay.
It's 10 years old.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'll move to put ordinance 2485 on first reading.
Second. Motion second to place ordinance 2485 on first reading. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. First reading of ordinance 2486, supplemental appropriations.
I just have one question for Kevin. The cemetery is a big place. Where the security system, where is it going? What is it looking at? Don't we want to say?
Basically, in talking with the security people, it's good. This is going to be phase one. And we have over 15,000 burials in the cemetery, and we have a lot of historical and sensitive records there. This is going to protect the cemetery records and the maintenance around the office, equipment, and that area. The rest of the cemetery is going to be evaluated for placement of cameras, which could get expensive because it is such a large area.
See who comes out at night?
Well, the main thing is we're going to try to catch the main entrance road without saying too much. Strategically placed things in the cemetery should help us. So this is phase one of.
This reminds me of a story I read in a magazine where Canadian Parking Garage was having a lot of trouble, so they put in a security camera system, and then thieves stole the security camera. You know, I'm just wondering, protect the cameras.
If they can get up on top of our maintenance building, which is about 15 feet.
I guess I was thinking about
a little bit tougher. We'll have them mounted on poles. It'll be quite tough to get to.
Lyndon, I just have a question for you as long as we're on this. We had some trouble with vandalism out at the cemetery. What kind of penalty is there for defacing the dead?
It depends what the value is, and it's aggregated together, but it all depends on the value of the crime.
So
It can escalate to a felony.
So if I went out and somebody was dead and I spray painted, "I'm glad" on their tombstone, what would I be looking at?
Tombstones are very expensive. It all depends on what it would take to get it back to that condition, but it'd probably be thousands. You could be facing a felony.
It's no different than any other property.
Yeah.
I think you were saying facing.
Right.
Yeah.
There are
There's no,
state laws regarding funerary objects, which it would fall under, and
Make it more serious?
gives the judges more power to levy harsher fines.
I mean, nobody should vandalize anything, but, you know, that just really is beyond the pale. I'll move to put 2486 on first reading.
Second. We have a motion second, place ordinance 2486 on first reading. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
I do have one more question. Yeah, I just have to make sure that I'm looking in the right place. This refers to the abstract bids, the Robert Johnson construction one, it was the low bidder, with $152,000, is that right? Or is this the next?
That's the next item.
That's the next, I jumped ahead. Okay, sorry. I wanted to make sure I got this. Okay, sorry.
All in favor of ordinance 2486 indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Placed on first reading. First reading of ordinance 2488, an ordinance amending section 4-2-3 C, expanding permitted Sunday sales by off-sale liquor licensees.
Mayor, I'll start. I was approached by some individuals that wanted to know how we could get this to the council. And so what I did was I contacted Attorney Carl Cook, and he drew this ordinance up. And I believe that Sean Lyons from South Dakota Retailers wants to come up and make a few comments.
Okay. Good evening, Mayor, members of the council. Sean Lyons, South Dakota Retailers Association. I'm all the way from Pierre this evening, and this is a little bit later in the day for me. I'm generally used to being in bed by now, but I saw the swimmers in here this evening. Maybe I thought I had a fan club, but seeing Senator Olson here for the first time in a number of years, as well as Councilman Dosher, it's back in kind of familiar company, so good to be before all of you this evening. It won't take a whole lot of your time this evening. Obviously, it's late in the evening, but I just want to talk with you a little bit about our organization. For those of you that aren't familiar with the Retailers Association, we kind of joke that if you have a bubblegum machine, you could be a member of the Retailers Association. We represent about 3,800 small businesses throughout South Dakota, anything from large retailers to small mom and pop operations. And amongst that membership are both on and off sale liquor license holders, which obviously brings me here before you this evening. South Dakota state law, as you know, allows municipalities to permit for Sunday alcohol sales. The city of Mitchell, I believe, is one of 3 municipalities of the Class A variety in our state that don't allow for that. And our organization, kind of give you a little bit of background, we've been involved in liquor legislation probably well before Senator Olson was in the legislature, and we're pretty proud of that track record. We take the matter of alcohol sales and service to our customers, as well as prohibiting the sales to those that shouldn't obtain alcohol, very seriously. And our organization has trained over about 24,000 individuals that have somehow gone through our program in one form or another for the last 14 years. In fact, I believe when we had a Train the Trainer program through the Retailers Association, the City of Mitchell Police Department actually had some of its officers that went through our training in one shape or form. So we're proud of the relationship that we've had between law enforcement and the retail community. And what we're asking for you here this evening on the first reading is to consider taking the next step to allow the sale of alcohol in your off-sale establishments here in the community. I believe by my accord, there's about 12 off-sale license holders in your community, many of which that are members of our association and some of which are not. And we're here really before you because we think it's the right thing to do. It's a matter of economics. I just spent, frankly, the last 3 days in your community on a personal level for a baseball tournament. And when I was here for that baseball tournament, we had a great time at your restaurants. We had a great time at spending money at a few of the grocery stores here in the community. And baseball players are really hungry. But parents tend to get a little bit thirsty maybe later in the evening as well. And so one of the things, obviously, from a consumer standpoint, I really think it speaks to the issue of why we're here, is you have a number of large cities around the state, and frankly, even large municipalities in our state that permit this. And we think as a matter of consumer choice as a matter of economics, as a matter of generating sales tax for your community, which is, I sat here this evening and was really interested in the talk about the pool and the rec center and those type of things that you all are looking at. Part of that comes from the sale of retail products. There can't be any one product that we represent or a retail sector that we represent that is any more regulated and restricted than the sale of alcohol products. And we think that's a good thing. We think that's important. And that's why we offer the training. We have a great relationship, as I said, with your local law enforcement, with the State Department of Revenue. And I will tell you that, as Senator Olson knows, I mean, the state legislature takes a really firm look at the sale of alcohol. And so we think it just makes sense that the city of Mitchell join those other large municipalities. I believe the only other two that do not permit it are the city of Brookings and the city of Huron. But other than that, you've seen a number of municipalities come on board, and we think Mitchell should follow suit. So I would be happy to answer any questions. I know it's going to be perhaps an extended discussion as you go forward, but I'd be happy to answer anything that I could this evening.
Sean, it's good to see you and hearing you talk. It brings back memories.
Not always good, Senator, I know.
Well, what do the South Dakota retailers have against Foresight? Why is it wrong for me to stock up on Saturday night if I want to drink on Sunday?
Mr. Mayor, I'm not sure your protocol because I haven't been before you all before, but Councilman Olson, I would tell you that I don't know if there's anything wrong with Foresight, nor do I think there's anything wrong with you having the choice as a consumer on Sunday afternoon if you're watching the Vikings or hopefully the Broncos, and you decide that you want to go down to the local grocery store or packaged liquor store and pick up a six-pack for the day, or if you're having friends over that afternoon, maybe you didn't pick up that extra six-pack.
We do allow beer, malt beverages currently.
Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't know where it was coming from. I felt like I was in a Bill Cosby skit and God was talking to me. Sorry, Council, I apologize for that. Let me rephrase, if I will, then. Whether or not, whatever the alcohol product may be, I'll stand corrected.
And there is an anomaly in the wine that under an off-sale liquor license, where Monday through Saturday you can sell off-sale beer, wine, or liquor, a wine license can sell Monday through Sunday off-sale. A wine licensee off-sale. Whereas a liquor licensee off-sale cannot. He is limited to malt beverage only. That's an anomaly. What this ordinance would do would exercise the city's prerogative under the statutes to allow off-salers to operate on Sunday, but they would have to be closed between 2 o'clock and 7 o'clock a.m. as every...
maybe between 7 and 2.
And if Christmas landed on Sunday, then that Sunday would be closed.
If I understand this ordinance correctly, if we would pass this, then everything would be available on Sunday.
That's right. Except if Sunday is Christmas Day, it will be closed.
So what is the economic impact? You know, getting back to Mel's thing, it's a Foresight park. It's closed now on Sunday, so if people make a choice, they go out and buy whatever they want. And then it's open on Sunday. Is there a difference between Huron and Aberdeen's revenue on Sunday?
Mayor, Councilman, I don't know that I could tell you, I don't have the numbers in front of me, Aberdeen, Huron, Mitchell. What I would say to you is anytime that you allow a retailer, we kind of go by a motto of nothing happens until a retailer sells something. And that holds true in this as well. If, let's use the example of one of your local package or off-sale licensees that only are now permitted to sell Monday through Saturday under the existing ordinance that you all have in place today, that means that they don't have that ability to sell on Sunday. So if I'm in the local grocery store and I want to I'm picking up my normal steak and other things that I want to get, and I also decide I want to swing by the liquor department, I'm somewhat limited in that regard today based upon your ordinance. So from that regard, it would make sense to me that the local retailer obviously generates revenue. That obviously generates income for those that are working in the store that particular day in that particular department. And at the end of the day, it's generating sales tax revenue for the city of Mitchell. Now, what that is, I suppose if you wanted to aggregate that out over a 7-day period, looking at what your existing sales are attributed to off-sale liquor. I couldn't give that. I would assume your finance officer could do that. I don't know what that is specifically for the city of Mitchell, but I can tell you just based off of the theory of economics, it would certainly make sense if you were allowing it 6 days a week. 7 days would certainly go in line with that as well. That doesn't answer your question, I understand, but I can't give you specifics on what your current sales are.
One thing I'd like to add is we had this issue obviously before on our table a while back, and I was in favor of voting the Sunday alcohol sales, and I'll be in that same position again on this topic. The one thing that we need to consider is it's not always about the revenue, the dollars either. I mean, obviously that's a big part of it, but when we talk about foresight, it's not foresight necessarily for the locals. It's the foresight for the community that we have, and that's the tourism community, and it's a big one on pheasant hunting and stuff like that for hunting. When hunters are coming from other towns or other states, I'll guarantee it they didn't look up in Google and find out if we sell alcohol on Sunday. But when they're here and they're done hunting that day, let's go to the liquor store and get that bottle that we want. But we can't do it. They cannot spend money that way because they didn't know that we don't offer on Sunday. That's the revenue that we're losing is the people. It's not the people of the local community. We know we don't sell alcohol on Sunday. People from out of town, people that come for the baseball games, people that do that stuff that stay in our community, that's where we're losing the revenue at, and that's what we need to try to capture back. So going back to my statement of what I said before, I'm going to support this issue again because I think it's an area that we are losing some monetary values, and I think we got to be more open to the people that come to our community to visit and spend money here, and we're not being acceptable to that. We need to change our ways. Like you said, changing ain't always the right way that people want to do it. They're not always on board for it, but in time, when you do make those adjustments in your communities to prosper, this is one thing that we can do. So,
Well, I was reminded again today about the referendum on this issue the last time it came before the council. And it was voted down, and it wasn't that long ago. And I really believe that I'm a representative of the community, and that I would have to go with referendum.
When was that?
4 years ago.
How many?
4 years.
4?
So,
Well, I have to tell you that ever since this came to my attention, I have thought long and hard about it. And I did a little research, and I found a study. I'm just going to share a little part of it with you. It said this was a collection of several studies that had been done nationally, in different states, and internationally as well. But one of the things that it said was, as a conclusion, it said this review found that increasing days of sale by allowing previously banned alcohol sales on either Saturdays or Sundays increased excessive alcohol consumption and related harms, including motor vehicle crashes, incidents of DUI, police intervention against intoxicated people, and in some cases assaults and domestic disturbances. And they also, they really quoted a study that was done in New Mexico where they found that when they lifted the ban on selling alcohol on Sundays, they had a notable increase in Sunday alcohol-related incidences. And so they reversed it, but this was a statewide ban. So in all fairness, I have to make sure that I'm presenting this study as it was, and the conclusions that it found. But it was a statewide ban. So that makes a big difference because here we don't have a statewide ban. And so and it talked about the economic impact. And one of the things that they pointed out was not necessarily that we're losing money because we're not selling the alcohol. They made reference to, the 41.6 alcohol-related fatalities on Sundays for this 5-year period from 1995 to 2000, which translated to more than $6 million of additional costs per year, blah, blah, blah. But in all fairness, I have to state that at the very end of this, it said one issue not addressed in this review is the potential consequence of neighboring regions having differing policies. And they go on to say, for example, if you have a Sioux Falls that sells on Sunday and you have a Mitchell, then they didn't really take that into account. They're talking about, so their statement was, basically, we can't really say, if it's not a statewide thing, that all of these circumstances are going to happen. And I wrote to Chief Overweg and I said, give me your input on this. And he said, well, the alcohol's already available, so if people really want to drink, they can drink. But that being said, hard liquor is not available unless you go to a restaurant. So while they may drink beer or wine, they couldn't drink hard liquor, or they couldn't go buy hard liquor unless, like I said, either they had it.
Couldn't buy it off sale, buy it on sale. with the-
Right, exactly. They could drink it in a restaurant, they could have it at Chef Louis', but they couldn't go to the store and buy it.
Yeah.
So I really have given this a lot of thought. And at the end of the day, I think that what makes sense to me is if you have more alcohol accessibility, then that is going to equate to more people imbibing and drinking, which logic would say could potentially lead to greater alcohol-related instances. So I want to be fair, and I feel like I want to be really open-minded. People that know me know that I don't choose to drink alcohol, but I'm certainly not opposed to my friends having whatever they want, and my friends would tell you that I don't mind that. So. But I wanted to at least present those findings, and then the other part of it is that the city voted this down 4 years ago, and I find that that's maybe more compelling than all the research that I looked at, was the fact that the people of the community have voiced their opinion on this at one time or another. I know that this is a hot topic. This is going to be something that people have strong emotions about one way or the other. And I have to say that I won't be at the next meeting, so if it passes on first reading, I won't be here to vote one way or the other at the next meeting. But I think that because of my research and the studies that I read, I feel like my logic mind says if we increase availability, it could increase to alcohol-related instances. And so that, along with the fact that this was voted down 4 years ago, I'm going to vote against.
And one thing I want to echo with Susan is the fact that it was voted down 4 years ago, and we all know that it was actually, I think, denied pretty strongly. The thing about it, things change, people change. 4 years ago, it got voted down. If the public is still not in favor of this, they will vote it down again.
Yeah, and I would be opposed to letting it go to a vote.
Right, and I think it needs to be out there again for the public to decide that. Us 7 can only do so much for 8 here when Danny is here, not on vacation. But, we need to at least give the opportunity to the public out there to either voice, for sure, for one thing, I hope we give a chance for first reading tonight. At least let it get out there, get your opinions back from your people in the public, let them talk for the next 2 weeks. Because if we don't give them the right for the next 2 weeks, then we failed already, because we got to give them a chance to speak. First reading does not say we're in support of it in 2 weeks. You can all vote no then. But I think we got to give at least the opportunity out there to get out there to the public so they can come back and have discussions on it. Then the next thing is, if we're still on board for it, then let the people vote on it again. If they're strongly disagreeing with this, they will vote it down handily like they did 4 years ago. But I do believe the people that are talking out there has changed their mind. I think in our last little issue that we had that voted changed some people's minds. And I think there's people out there that are sort of opening up a little bit more of things that we need to do as a community and make some different adjustments here. So I think if it does go to a vote of the public, I think we're going to be quite amazed on how it might not win, but it's going to be amazed how much that vote, I believe, is going to change. So I think we got to let people speak
How
again.
badly would we feel if we end up being one of those statistics and suddenly we see an increase in Sunday alcohol-related instances?
Well, what people say to me is, they say, how many times do we have to vote? We've told you. Why don't you listen? And and I know, every election is another opportunity for, taking another bite at the apple. But the response I've gotten since it's come out in the paper is, why don't you people listen? Why do we have elections if you're not going to listen? And, maybe if this had been 10 years, that might be different. But when we're on a 3-year election cycle, this really was only one election.
One of the things.
So I was just going to say, to make people voting, I just don't think so. I'm not in favor of this. I do understand we have a very illogical alcohol policy in this town. You can drink wine on the sidewalk. but not beer. We're the fourth largest beer consumers in the country, but you can't have beer on the sidewalk. You can have wine on the sidewalk. You can buy wine and beer on Sunday, but you can't buy hard liquor. You can buy hard liquor in a restaurant on Sunday, but you can't buy it anywhere else. So I understand that the laws are schizophrenic. But there's a large portion of our community who says, why can't we have this one thing? You have everything else. You have wine outdoors, you have hard liquor outdoors, you have beer outdoors if you have a scoreboard or someplace like that. You've got wine on the sidewalk, you've got beer and wine sales on Sunday. Why can't we have this one thing, especially when we told you overwhelmingly just one election ago? We want this one thing. So, this is a no.
I was going to point out, too, that the individuals that came and visited with me and wanted to put this on, the last time that, or this was voted on in 2010, it was 56-44. I had Marilyn look it up. And those individuals said, you know, what we want to do is relay the facts to everybody, because there wasn't any type of a media campaign that they want to relay economically what impact this could have on the community. Also indicated that they wanted to point out some other facts and just didn't do it for whatever reason. And so they wanted the ability to at least put some type of a campaign together, and they were wanting to move forward. And then at that point, if the people so choose, it's their prerogative. And if not, then so be it. But they really felt that they missed an opportunity to at least educate the public. And in all reality, the ordinance that we're looking at tonight gives the ability for the businesses to sell. We're not forcing them to sell. So they can make an election. You know, maybe it's something where the customers say, you know, we just do not want it. But what it does again, and I know it's a broken record, but what it does is it takes the decision-making out of government and puts it to the business people that where it should be. At this point, I don't think anybody's got a wine license that I'm aware of. So it was a business decision that they made. And the other economic impact that Marty started the list, and the one that is extremely important, is when mom and dad or grandpa and grandma come off the farm and they look to whatever direction they come once a week. If it happens to be Sunday, you know, they have go anywhere from Menards to Campbell Supply to County Fair or wherever. They're looking to buy all of their merchandise that day, and I would almost be rather shocked if some of the decisions were made to go to other towns as a result of it. So I think that is a big part when you're sitting out on the farm and the ranch that you want to buy your supplies for the week. You may bypass Mitchell. Nothing to base that on, but I certainly think that is a decision that the farmers make. So given all that, I'm going to support this, and then let the businesses, they can decide if they want to or not.
Mayor Tracy, if I may add just one more thing, because I heard a couple of comments that I thought just needed maybe from our standpoint some clarification. First of all, regarding the other communities and an increase in crime and fatalities and those type of issues, I'm not aware in those communities that have recently added Sunday sales that we've seen an increase. Now that may be true, but I certainly haven't heard it. And I know that there is a Chiefs Association, so I'm assuming that perhaps that conversation has maybe been had and that research has been done. I certainly haven't heard that. The other thing I want to just clarify on your previous vote, and I wasn't involved in that issue beforehand, but I do want to just make clear, as Senator Olson talked about, you all are an elected body and you send folks elected to peer as well. And in 2010, the legislature actually passed a law setting the state's legal hours of sale from 7 to 2, as was discussed earlier, for both on and off sale alcoholic beverage licenses. Previously, hours of sale varied from one type of license to another. So you had a hodgepodge of different types of licenses that could operate around the state and in municipalities at different times of day and days of the week.
So the legislature 4 years ago, and not always, as you know, Senator, does the legislature do the right thing, but the legislature did look at consistency, and they did look at retailers that operate in multiple communities, and they thought, really, we need to have some type of clarification and consistency in the law. So while I understand what the overwhelming vote was before, I would just tell you all that the legislature has dealt with those type of issues as well. They hear from the same type of constituents as you do as well. And they obviously cleared up the statutes, which they thought made the law more consistent on a statewide basis. And we were just asking you to consider doing so on the local level.
I have one question
Yes,
for
sir.
you related to the legislature. I was involved 20 years ago now.
I might have been with you then, Senator.
Might have been, on tobacco preemption, to avoid this very issue with tobacco, allowing a machine here and not there. Why hasn't your group lobbied the legislature for a similar action on alcohol, so the policy would be the same statewide?
Mayor, Councilman Olson, I think if you remember probably over the years that I've been with the retailers for about 10 years. My predecessor was 20 years before that. I think our organization has always lobbied for consistency with regard to the patchwork of ordinances that exist. So we're not any different on tobacco than we are on alcohol. Not at all.
So I guess you're up there, and I haven't been up there for a decade. Why is the state deaf on different policies for tobacco, but okay with different policies for alcohol?
Mayor, I don't know, Councilman, if that's a rhetorical question or not. That's a
Well,
great,
you're up there on a day-to-day.
I am, sir, absolutely.
basis.
That's a great question, and I can't answer that. I don't, frankly, understand the difference in the two products, but clearly we've gone through that. I think the legislature, as we've done for 125 years, has tried to go through over time and make clarifications to tobacco policy and how we treat it in our state and in our communities. I mean, we're dealing with it in e-cigarettes right now, and we do deal with it with alcohol. I think I'm dealing, now in my 10 years with the association, we're doing our 6th summer study on alcohol-related issues this summer. So every time that we open up an issue, and in fact, frankly, you can look back at the history of alcohol laws in the state, and they date back to Prohibition, including this very issue that you're talking about this evening. So the legislature over time has tweaked and heard from constituents. They've heard from constituents who are retailers, I would also remind you. So as you talk about this issue and from the public, your members in the retail community are constituents as well. And they've gone through and they've tweaked those laws, just like you all have here on the local level with ordinances. I don't know, to answer your question directly, why they treat one differently than the other. I would tell you that we deal with it on an annual basis throughout the legislative session and during the interim as well.
I just have one last thing. It's inside baseball. It doesn't require a comment. But if I hear about the three-tiered system one more time, you know what I'm talking about.
Yes, sir.
Jeremiah Murphy.
Yes, sir.
God rest his soul.
Yes, sir.
So,
Mr. Mayor, do you have anything else or the council for me? If not, thank you for your time this evening. Appreciate it.
Well, I don't know if we'll have more discussion or not, but the one thing I want some of the council members to consider, especially those that are new on the council, not too often we don't pass a first reading. Typically, we always know that, let's do a first reading, give the chance for the public to take a look at it, because you really don't know what the public is quite thinking until you give them a chance to give you a call, and you give them 2 weeks, you buy them those 2 weeks. In 2 weeks, if you're still on that no side, then you vote no kind of attitude. But I think you owe it to the public, and why we're sitting up here, to at least give them a chance to call you. I encourage people to call myself, and I encourage them to call everybody else. I think we owe that opportunity to, for 2 weeks, to give you a call to see where you're going to be at, to vote then. First reading does not say we're supporting it. First reading does not say we're passing it. It just means we're going to give the public the opportunity to voice their opinion. And I believe we owe that to them, especially those that are new on the council, and haven't really had anybody call you on this topic yet. So with that being said, I'm going to put first reading ordinance 2488.
we got somebody here who wants to talk.
Okay.
I'll second.
Further discussion?
My name is Carol Torberson, Mr. Mayor and council members. I've been sitting here and listening to a lot of interesting discussion on this, and I was involved 4 years ago when the city brought this to a vote and voted it down. I was out of town for about 2 weeks, and I came home and opened up the package of newspapers today, And one of the articles I saw was great big headlines a week or so ago. South Dakota is 4th highest in consumption of beer in the country per capita. And then it says, and it gives the numbers, and round numbers, it says, well, it's not just because it's not just an issue of it brings in more revenue because we sell more booze. But they said there's only 3 states that drink more beer than South Dakota. And it averages like 32 gallons of beer per adult. North Dakota, Montana, and somebody else. And 32 gallons of beer per available or legal consumer. But then it goes on and it says in there that, but it's not all profit, because it costs South Dakota, these are South Dakota numbers, round numbers, it costs South Dakota $500 and some million a year, which boils down to $1.60 per drink in social problems, lost productivity, and other social issues that are involved for per drink, $1.60 per drink. Now, if you take a 6-pack, I think it says it 32 gallons is about 68 6-packs per person. You buy a 6-pack of beer at $1.60, it's round numbers, it costs the state $10 in losses for every 6-pack somebody drinks. Now, that's bad economics. We're hearing about the Retailers Association, all the wonderful things. I got nothing against the Retail Association. I was surprised that some of the comments I heard were that this is a really, really big issue in retailing. I don't feel good about that alcohol is such a major, major part of retailing. But some of the things that concern me, I sit back home and I wonder, when does no mean no? I raised 10 children, and when I said no, I meant it the first time, and I meant it to stay that way.
Legally,
And
it's for a year.
Legally, no means no for a year. Oh,
Legally, no means
I
no
never
for a
knew
year.
that. But in the mentality of the public, we voted against this 4 years ago. It seems like the government has a tendency to, if you vote something out, we voted issue after issue after issue in this town in the last 24 years that I've been here. And it pops up like a jack-in-the-box. You turn the crank and it pops up again, and we vote on it again. Now, I'll say this. I'm not looking forward to another petition. I've got a lot of things to do. But to say, well, we'll let the people run another petition and vote on it again. Why are you here? We said no. Some of the things that I just, some of the arguments that were put forth, I really doubt that any farmer comes to town on Sunday to do all of his shopping and buying his commercial products and everything, just because he can buy a bottle of booze on Sunday, as opposed to going to Delmont and getting his groceries or some smaller town where he can buy a bottle of booze. I'm sure they're going to come to Mitchell and do their shopping anyway. The sad thing is, if we're building our society around the accessibility to a bottle of booze on Sunday, that grieves me about Mitchell. I've been here 24 years. I raised all my kids here. Some of them were older and weren't here so long. I love Mitchell. I hate to have to keep fighting and fighting for, like was said here, can't we have one thing? Can't we have one day? You've got all the rest of the week. Can't we have one day to just give us a little bit? I was surprised. My wife is the one who opened up today's paper, and she said, guess what? The city is going to vote again on Sunday liquor. I said, I thought we had that killed. And it comes back again. Now, I guess I'm not the only voice. I'm the only one here apparently, probably tonight. But I wish that you'd listen to what happened 4 years ago. If the trends are trending in that direction, I think it's a sad trend. I think we're going in the wrong direction. I believe the Bible. Like was mentioned, we have a very schizophrenic attitude in this town. We have some kids get killed in a car accident, and the public is up in arms and said, oh me, oh my, now what are we going to do? What are we going to do to keep our kids safe? And 6 months later, we're trying to find more ways to push more booze. And I think that's it. I could give you all kinds of illustrations. I sat in the backyard at a graduation party, and a father came and called his daughter over. I was drinking my can of Coke, and the man called his daughter over and said, here, you take a drink. She said, I don't want to drink a beer. They had a cooler of pop and a cooler of beer. And he said, you take a drink of beer. And she said, no, I don't want to. And he said, you're going to have a drink of beer. She said, I don't want to. He says, I know you're going to that keg party when you leave this party. And when you get picked up, I want to be able to look right smack in the judge's face and say, my daughter was with me when she drank. That's the wrong attitude, I think, in our society. This is just one little thing. This isn't going to cure it all. But I hope that you would consider what we did last time around, 4 years ago. And to be really honest, I don't want to spend the time and the energy to have to put this up to a vote again. I don't like that attitude that, well, we'll just throw it out there and see if the public wants to put some energy into it again. But we'll do it. I don't want to, but we'll have to do it again. I'd rather that you left it alone. We've got all the booze we need in this town. All we need, all the accessibility we need. I don't think we need any more. Thank you for your time.
Anyone else? If not, we have a motion and a second to place ordinance 2488 on first reading. We'll have a roll call vote, please.
Olson,
No.
Rice,
Yes?
Tronis,
Yes.
Dosher, Barrington,
Aye.
Allen, Sharps,
No.
Smith.
Aye.
4 yes, 3 no.
Motion carried. Next on the agenda, to ratify a change order number 1 to Sun Dakota Construction.
Mayor? Before you go on, the South Dakota DOT item on page 98, 99, and 100, did we not have that listed on the agenda?
It was actually part of the,
That was what I was.
That same.
Susan was asking about, but where is it on the supplement?
It's right below what we were just talking about.
Right below what we were just talking about.
If you go page,
Not on 94 and 95.
No.
it's under water distribution, Spruce Street Utilities.
That's for 31,000.
And that is the extra that we need. We already have budgeted, 100,000 for water. And we don't need to approve the actual bids,
So the supplement is just the difference?
just the difference. So we have enough money budgeted for the water. We don't have to approve the bids because they're DOT bids. And in the DOT commissioners meeting, they will consider those bids on Thursday.
That wasn't clear.
So why did H&W Contracting LLC not get the awarded the bid because they were lower than?
Because the way the DOT bids work is, it is a combined bid. So they bid the utilities as one project. They bid the road work, which is road and storm sewer work, as another bid, but it's all one combined bid, so only one contractor could be awarded those bids. So it's the lowest combined bid. So even though H&W was lower, Johnson was lower on all the road stuff by about $300,000. Therefore, he was the lowest responsible bidder.
That's what I wanted to ask before.
Okay, moving on. Change order number 1 to Sun Dakota Construction Incorporated for library addition and renovation project number 2013-7 for library phone system to install data cabling and phone cabling in the amount of $16,170 for an adjusted contract amount of $1,822,300.
This is that item that we discussed about adding data cabling in the library. Item number 2, and if you decide not to just ratify it, but just consider approval, I had sent you an idea of item number 2 of the $10,275. The item number 1, we talked about when we were doing the bidding of some of the other work to add the $5,895 to do data cabling in the north half of the building. The whole data cabling issue in the original plan was data cabling was to be run by owner. At that time, we didn't have an IT person on staff, so we had the conduit all ran and felt that the contractor, we need to have the contractor run all the cabling. So this is what that change order is for. With this, we will still have money left over in our contingency to where we won't be needing to ask for any more money for this project.
Move to ratify.
Second.
Motion second to ratify change order number 1 to Sun Dakota Construction. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Consider approval of change order number 1 to Sun Dakota Construction for a library addition and renovation project 2013-7A2 for furniture and fixtures. Rebid number 2 for ad bid item number 10 and items 12, workroom, workstation, shelving and paneling, and laminate finish in the amount of $13,700 for an adjusted contract amount of $47,680.
This is basically what we approved at the last meeting when we did all those alternates. When we approved the first set of alternates, Larry Jerza wrote a contract for those first 4. Then he was going through and trying to look at some of these other alternates, and he would like us to just do a change order to put those into the original contract that we did for the furniture to make it a little bit cleaner, other than having 2 separate contracts. So all this is based off those bid prices that we had, but he would like to put those into that original contract that we did for all the alternates. So we don't have 2 separate contracts.
Second.
Motion second to approve change order number 1 to Sun Dakota. Further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Consider approval of Mitchell Rural Fire Association contract.
If you'd like me to address it, I will. I believe these were the terms that the council indicated it would accept. Perry Township has left the association and has gone with Letcher, we believe, but at least they're not contracting with the city. This itemizes the portions of township, excludes Mitchell Township because Mitchell Township has its own arrangement, and pretty self-explanatory, I believe. So.
Yeah, this allows a trade of their equipment that we'll take for a couple years here. Allows them to get established as a fire district in the next few years.
And I believe they are working on that. I understand that they've contacted a lawyer to help the various townships establish a fire district, which would make it easier for us. easier for them.
I was gonna ask you another question before you sat down. If that township, if there's a fire in that township and they call Mitchell, will we respond?
If Letcher goes to it and asks us for mutual aid, yes,
So it
we would
has to-
respond.
Okay.
We would not be the primary response, though.
They can't call us first.
Right. But Letcher would have to be sent first.
Okay.
Yeah,
And
that's
then
it.
if Letcher throws a request out,
Yes.
do we charge?
No,
a fire
no.
department?
If it's extended, you can recoup fuel and that sort of thing, but normally it's not. You just go in.
I think there's pretty much mutual aid agreements amongst area, the web of mutual aid agreements amongst fire departments, very common. In other words, if we have a bad fire down on Main Street, we'd be calling Alec.
No, I understand that. I just want to make sure we weren't the primary.
No, if they called 911, they would get the dispatch, and the dispatch would relay that call to Letcher. And then if Letcher, if the fire is big enough that they can't handle it, then they can, might call for mutual aid. That's how that would work.
That's a good question. What prevents us from being mutually aided to death?
Well, Paul Morris, Assistant Fire Chief. We've run that question through our minds as well, and I've spoken a little bit with the Letcher Fire Chief and made it known, basically in certain terms, that if they get a call for a fire in that Perry Township, that they had better be on scene first and determine that the fire is beyond their capabilities. Then they can call for mutual aid. If, one of our concerns is before they get off the tractor or get out of the store to get down to their fire trucks, they're going to call for automatic mutual aid. It will probably happen once.
Because they're not paying. I mean, they're paying Letcher. They're not paying us. Letcher has the legal obligation to go initially. Because their contract supposedly is going to be with another entity, not Mitchell.
And as you see, many of these townships, only portions of them come to Mitchell. Some go to Ethan, some go to Mount Vernon, some go to
wherever they
Letcher,
choose.
some go to Alec.
Now, once the fire district is formed, that may all change. They may elect, a portion of that township may elect to come with us. They can do just sections. 1 mile sections, half-mile sections.
They just have to be adjoining.
They have to be adjoined, yes. Yep. Yep. So in the next couple of years, technically, they would have the choice to come in with us.
It would make it a lot easier if they did. Obviously, we can't control that, nor can they, because it goes to a vote of the population.
Right.
They agree that they will, as much as they can, and that's do what they can to form a district, but they don't have the power to form a district on their own.
So we've beaten this thing to death. Lyndon, are you okay with it?
We're good. Paul's looked
Are
through
you
it.
okay with it?
Yes.
I'll motion to approve.
Motion second to approve the Mitchell Rural Fire Association contract. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Consider approval of agreement with HDR Engineering Risk Management Program for water treatment plant.
Every 5 years, we have a risk management program with the water treatment plant, and it's anytime that we store or use chlorine on site. So this is what this agreement is for. The money was approved at the last meeting, and I think Rich wants to talk.
This isn't nothing new. It's, we started this in like the mid-90s with HDR Engineering over Sioux Falls. And instead of starting from scratch and costing probably 3 times as much, just going through and updating it. So with this here, it'll be good for 5 years again. And then they got a plan on worst scenario if there's a chlorine leak. We have a plan.
That's required by law, or as
through EPA.
Yeah.
Yep. Yep.
you have to update periodically.
Second. Motion second to approve the agreement with HDR Engineering. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. Terry, this handout that you gave us, has that been addressed? or-
That was approved, yeah.
Okay. Entertain a motion to adjourn. Motion second to adjourn. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. We are adjourned.
I already have to give you the proposal.